validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host Xander, where we're talking about this, that, and everything in between. Man, we had to reset the internet. I know Steven was like, shoot, I can't refresh it a bit. Yesterday we was having hell trying to get connected, but we got connected today. It took us a delay. And you know, these things happen. And that's why I tell y'all that we go live 7 nights a week. Every night of the week we go live. We do not let the sun rise without going live, but we don't always start on time. And that's why we ask you guys to like and subscribe and mash the notification buttons while you're here. Well, hit those notification buttons so that you know when we go live, and then mash those reaction buttons while we're here so that you can get all of the inside information that we got going on at the top of the hour when we have updates and news and stuff that we want to report to you guys. Um, a lot of wheels have been turning with the stuff that we've been watching, but not a lot of news and updates that we're going to be giving you guys today. However, make sure that you double check in the membership because, Steven, I actually did get two different lists. One's going to be released at noon tomorrow, and the other one's going to be released on noon on the 26th. So that some starter ideas on how to address certain situations with a little bit more anger management style approaches. Uh, I haven't gotten a show together for that one yet, but I'm supposed to be trying to get it. Like I told you, I'm supposed to be trying to get it in the lineup by this weekend because I'm going to be doing more scripts for more shows. As a result, I will be creating a special show specifically for your request and putting it up there doing a script for it, and then getting more information for it. And based on how I designed the show, based on your request, will be a third walkthrough, probably a little bit more unorthodox on how you can focus on addressing issues with um, different people in unorthodox situations where they're not cooperating with you the way you would prefer for them to cooperate. So I wanted to give you that information before we got started. Um, being live 7 nights, we've got different topics every night of the week. As y'all can see, if y'all check the lineup, we've got shows scheduled all the way out to September right now, and we're working really hard to. Well, I am working really hard to push it all the way into October and November right now. Before, as we creep into August, I'm trying to get the shows listed all the way to November so that we will be ready for daylight savings time. I still believe that we're going to be starting at the top of the hour for daylight savings time, maybe 5 minutes after the top of the hour for daylight savings time. But I also want to make sure that we're prepared for that. I did, for those of you that do look at what we've got going on the TikTok side of things, I did start releasing some videos on TikTok, so there's some news for that. Uh, we're releasing like 4 videos a day, so some of the videos that you've seen released on YouTube are now being released on TikTok, and we'll see how that works out. Um, TikTok is looking for more chaos, video games, and girls showing off their figure, less about how to improve yourselves. So it's going to take a little bit of effort for a not being live on TikTok for people to see the stuff on TikTok and then slide on over this way. But giving you guys different topics every night of the week. Sundays, questions, comments from the fans. Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday are business politics style topics. Where on Mondays we talk about how politics negatively impacts your ability to make, save, and invest money. Tuesday we talk about how to make, save, and invest money, different ways to move your money around, different ways to make financial decisions that doesn't impact your money as much. Then we start talking about on Wednesdays different countries around the world that you can invest in, potentially live in, and then we give you on Thursday, Friday, and Saturday social improvement, personal development, um, well, self improvement, really. Then we do talk about socialization, negotiations, relationship topics, building your brand, and social skills and personal development is when Stephen had asked about anger management situations, because when you are trying to debate with or negotiate with somebody in a situation where you don't have more leverage than the person that's communicating with you, because they're like the gatekeeper of your success in that scenario. It is harder for you to communicate and articulate when the frustration is they refuse to perform. And that's going to be kind of how I'm going to be fine tuning the show when we start talking about that topic, because it there are different ways that you can do it when you're on an equal field as somebody else. Uh, but when the person that you're debating with has more access to the final outcome that you're looking for than you do, and while they may have somebody above them, there's only so many things that you can do in so many different ways, and that requires you to rethink your position and look for solutions in the midst of chaos. And a lot of the times when our anger and our emotions get the best of us, it's harder for us to think clearly, which is why I gave you guys in the past some anger management advice about pausing, taking that 30 seconds to breathe, rethink your position, stop speaking, and regain your composure before you start speaking again, because it's not about how quick you respond to the other person. It is about what you say when you do say something to the other person, because there's two things you've got to do. You've got to, one, not threaten them, and two, get your point across in a way that they will act in a manner that you would expect from them, right? Now, that is a bigger difference than what we used to do when we were kids, because I burn this bitch down and I beat your ass is the kind of statements that we used to do to get what we wanted when we was kids. And to avoid conflicts, some people would cooperate or at least back down from the situation and let us do whatever we wanted to do. As adults, those types of threats could get you put in prison. So we have to be able to articulate in certain situations without threatening the other person while leveraging our position, uh, what we can do to achieve our goals with people that are less than cooperative. And then alternative ways to navigate around a situation when the people that are in place are less cooperative, because not always are we going to get what we want in life, but it is easier and more effective to get what you want in life if you are not acting with emotion. And I know that's hard to do. That's really hard to do, especially if you're heavily invested in something or if it has a large majority impact on the quality of life that you would like to have. So we're going to be talking about that coming soon. Now, in addition to that, we talked to you guys about promotions, raises, retirement, forced retirement, severance packages, termination, and how to build your 20 and 30-year plan. And partly building your 20 and 30-year plan does aid you in removing yourself from some of these hangups in life that are unexpectedly outside of your control. Some of the problems that we have is because we can't afford it. Some of the problems that we have is because we need more time and we don't have another way to get this done. Some of the problems that we have um, is that we need help to get this done and we don't have the resources to pay for that extra help. Now, the majority of our 20 and 30-year plan conversations is about preparing yourself for what you yourself are going to have to deal with yourself. And I said it like that because building your retirement as a single person could cover your cost of living and your personal expectations without including paying people to help you get stuff done. You can, as a family person, be planning for how you and your wife or you and your husband is going to retire and what vacation styles y'all are going to have, but that does not include the necessity for in-home nurses, housekeeping when y'all can't or don't want to clean up the house, landscapers when y'all can't or don't want to take care of the yard if y'all have one. And these are other things that are overlooked. What about when you reach an age, because everybody reaches that age where you no longer have a driver's license. You don't have to get it taken from you for DUI. You could get it taken from you because of your vision, lack of motor skills, health problems, or you could just no longer want to deal with the anxiety of driving a vehicle and you might need a chauffeur. When you start taking these things into an account, you have to be able to look at what the hourly wage is for a chauffeur, or if you're going to budget Ubers for daily use, order in most of the things, but Uber everything else. And you have to put all of this stuff into your budget so that you're no longer stressing about how you're going to get around, especially here in America, because everything's fucking far here. And you want to make sure that you're trying to accomplish all of the things in life that needs to be accomplished, right? So building your 20-year plan about you yourself, exclusively yourself, is one way to do it because that's at least an outline, but including all of the different things that would directly impact you in your lifetime would also be another level to building your final outcome. And let's say you need a personal assistant that's going to all encompass most of these things, and find out that that's an extra 40,000 a year that you have to add to your overhead in order for you to cover getting most things done. Well, if you're looking at a $70,000 a year lifestyle that you want to live and a $40,000 a year personal assistant that's going to do everything else, that $40,000 a year personal assistant is going to take up your income is going to now have to be like 110 or $120,000, right? That's stuff that people don't factor into their retirement. That's stuff that people don't factor into their end of days. So we really have to think about how we're doing what we're doing and how we want things to get done in the future. So that's some of the stuff that we talk about when we're trying to get you guys motivated to plan for the future. Now today we're going to be talking about chill bro ways to manage your cash. Now this is going to be a little bit different than what you guys might think, but let's be honest. If you think that you're managing your money, but you're not, right? You're just surviving, and that's what most people do is they survive. We get by from paycheck to paycheck. We're holding it down, meaning that it could get away from us at any point in time. We're staying afloat, which means we could drown at any moment, right? If your entire financial world, every hope, every fear, every single decision lives and dies by the number in your checking account, you're definitely not in control. Shit happens and it's got to wait until after your next payday. Look, you're a passenger in your own financial life, and you're just one unexpected expense away from a complete tailspin. He says, I invest so heavy that I survive. But see, you're investing in something way different than what other people are doing right now, because other people might put a little bit of money aside for spending money. They might put a little bit of money aside for party money. Some people might put a little bit of money aside for vacation money. They got some people that are a little bit more responsible. They put a little bit of money aside for major repairs, or they just build their credit up so that they can qualify to take out massive loans whenever they need to cover certain things so that uh, uh, stuff is taken care of. And now they've got this extra $200-300 a month loan that they've got to pay off in order to cover an emergency, where you're not borrowing against the stone so that you can invest that money and make money for you. You're borrowing against the stone to pay for a liability, and now you owe the loan. While it does kind of do something to your credit score in a positive fashion, if you can afford to pay for it, it does hurt your day to day operation with your fixed income. Because while people are going to claim that they're not on a fixed income, if you have made the same average dollar amount of money for the last 6 months, you're on a fixed income. It can go up in the next year to 18 months. But the fact is that if you've been looking at that same 600, 800, $900 a month check, give or take 20 or 30 bucks, it's the same thing. That's what you guaranteed is going to come in on a regular basis to cover your bills. It is what it is. And if you're drawing in like 3,000, 4,000, $5,000 a month, and that's all you're bringing in, that's your standard of living. That is a fixed amount of money, and it's not going to change overnight, right? So when you add a $500 monthly payment on a loan to that fixed amount, you have to cut something out that wasn't originally planned on being cut out, because the average person lives at 90% of their income. Now, you yourself investing so heavy, you're investing smart in a way where you have two options. You have one, the ability to cash out on some of your dividends and pay for some minor things. And then the opportunity, if worst case scenario does come, you can cash out on some of your actual shares and use that to cover the spread if necessary. While the market is volatile and not in everybody's favor, it could negatively impact your outcome for overall investments. It is a massive solution, because five, seven, 10, $20,000 worth of money in a brokerage account is a secondary option to an emergency savings account. But 200, 300, $500 a month from a brokerage account, most things that you might need to do might be inside of that 500 bucks. Even if you did have to go and get a loan, and the monthly payments on a loan is 250 to 500 bucks, the 250 to 500 bucks from the brokerage account will cover the loan. So your paycheck doesn't go to the loan. Your paycheck goes to whatever you would put your paycheck to, because the brokerage account pays for it all. And that's not something a lot of people are capable of doing, because they're not planning for that, right? So I know that everybody knows that feeling, that mini panic attack when the check engine light comes on your vehicle, even if it's ever so slightly. The first time that check engine light comes on and you freak out, you know, even after that, you just ride with all the check engine light. It'd be looking like Christmas on your dashboard, like, look at the bitch ain't broke yet. Every sensor on the car is lit up. When a friend casually announces a destination wedding that you can't afford to go to, that sense of dread when you have to make a big purchase for something that you need and you can't put it off anymore. The constant mental math of trying to remember if your car insurance payment cleared before you dare to buy groceries. Oh, that's a big one. That's a big one. I know that I was checking emails, and I had a automatic bill pay, and it was like 15 bucks for my car insurance. But the principle of the fact was it was supposed to clear on the 20th. I didn't know what day of the week it was. I wasn't sure if it happened or not. And by now it happened, but it's the principle of the fact that between the 15th and the 28th, I didn't know if it had cleared yet, if it had hit yet, because it's supposed to charge on a specific day. Now, if I needed to spend money before that day, I would have to decide, do I have enough money to cover that $15 charge? Do I redirect money from a different account? Do I got to go grab it from a different card? Y'all got to understand that feeling isn't freedom, it's a prison. And it's going to be a prison with invisible bars built from the anxiety of the unknown. And that's going to happen no matter how wealthy you are. If you have more things that you're trying to pay for in a short period of time than what you have money coming in during that same period of time, you're going to be in this experience. You can have $500,000 a year coming in. Look at what happened to MC Hammer, $53 million a year. He still didn't have enough money to cover $800,000 worth of tax. He had to sell all his shit to start over. Is it the only travel I can't refuse? Is ACDC, the last concert tour in Philly soon. Uh, Even though I've seen them twice on this tour, it could be their last. Well, I'm never going to discourage doing something that is supposed to be like a once in a lifetime memorable moment. At budgeting for it and taking action towards it is the way to prepare the type of lifestyle where you can do things like going to that one ACDC concert and still have like your future success locked in and your present stability locked in without having to overexpose yourself to financial strain while trying to take advantage of a memory moment. It would be the same as if somebody was trying to get front row seats to WrestleMania, or if some chick was trying to go to another Drake concert or a Kendrick Lamar concert or something like that, trying to catch Usher on his next tour or R. Kelly's first tour, fresh out of prison kind of thing. The next Diddy concert since he got out. If that's what people want to spend their money on, as long as you financially approach it where you got it like that. Sometimes people find value in those memories over the value of future financial success. And I'm not going to say that you should live a boring lifestyle in order to be rich in the future. I'm saying that while you live an eventful lifestyle, you should find a way to make sure that your future is locked in stone. So, Stephen, you do a good job of putting away what 20, 40, 50% of your income. So if you put $300 down for an ACDC concert, you're not really killing yourself. You're not really, you're not destroying your future by going to one concert. You know what I mean? But yeah, I respect that. Even when we start talking about taking a podcast on trips around the world, uh, eventually, not in the near future, but eventually, we still look at the cost of maintaining things here, the cost of maintaining things in another state, the cost of the equipment to travel. Because if we're doing a live podcast, we're going to have unlimited, like decent sized bandwidth to stream in a different country because we're not going to be guaranteed the live streaming equipment that we have here. So we'd be paying for a streaming service in our home station and still paying for an extra streaming service somewhere else, right? That's the cost of doing business. So when we start planning a trip like that, we have to make sure that we cover the overhead and still be able to cover the travel expenses. And that's something that not a lot of people take into consideration. Right? But when you're making money make money for you, it's a little bit easier to say, well, the money is coming in. I can write it off as a work expense, and that keeps the books from getting taxed so much, right? But for people who are living paycheck to paycheck, that's not always the case. It's going to be the single biggest reason that you're going to feel stuck, unable to get ahead, and constantly treading water. But what if I told you guys that over the next hour or so, we're going to have the blueprint that's already stuck in the membership, not a get rich quick scheme, not some complicated trading strategy, but a simple, powerful system to move from constant low grade financial panic to a state of genuine stability, right? And eventually to real tangible growth. So it's going to be a system that works for you in the background. So you don't have to live in a state of constant financial anxiety. A system that puts you back in the driver's seat. So I want you guys to stay with me because we're about to tear down the prison and we're about to build a foundation for your financial future. Now, the problem, the very core of all of this financial anxiety is going to be something that we call checking account trap. And it's going to be a mindset, not just a bank account. It's the deeply ingrained belief that as long as there's money in the checking account at the end of the month, that you're doing okay. Why so many people find this trap to be so common and so seductive? Because it feels simple. In a world of overwhelming financial noise, boiling your entire financial health down to one number feels manageable. It gives you a false sense of security. Balance is positive. Great, I'm good. Balance is low. Okay, I'll cut back for a few days. It seems logical, but it's a lie and it's a dangerous one. Living a checking account trap has four devastating consequences that are actively keeping you poor and stressed out. And you're going to find that typically towards the end of your work week, the end of your billing cycle, the right before all of your big ass bills are due, that's when the most stress hits. So the second and third week of the month, you might be feeling good, but the third week of the month and the first week of the following month, that's when you start feeling like shit. All right. First, you're going to be stuck in a reactive mode. You're going to be a firefighter, not an architect. You're constantly just putting out fires. The car breaks down, that's a fire. You pull money from wherever you can, hope it's enough, and deal with the fallout later. A lot of the times, depending on what breaks on a car, depends on whether or not you get the car fixed now or you have to pay for the inspection fee and tow the car back to the house and catch a bus until you can fix the car later. Sometimes you gotta fix the car now and you might have them delay repair where the car stays in the shop longer and you make payments on it and then they repair the vehicle and then you finish making payments on it so that you can get the car back. But during that time, 2, 3 weeks, several paychecks, the car is in the shop and the majority of your capital is going towards getting the car back. And you deal with the fallout after that. Vet sends you a 4 figure bill, that's a fire alarm. You scramble, stress, maybe throwing it on a credit card and telling yourself that you'll figure it out later. You're never building anything with this mindset. You're just running from one crisis to the next with your checking account balance as your only flimsy fire extinguisher. You can't plan for the future because you're perpetually stuck reacting to the present. Second, you are bleeding money and opportunities, and you probably don't even see it. Every dollar just sitting idle in a standard zero interest checking account is losing a battle against inflation every single day. Inflation is a silent thief and it's going to be robbing your cash of its purchasing power. We've talked about that plenty of times over the last month. But that's not even the biggest cost. The biggest cost is what your money could have been doing, opportunity cost, the money that could have been earning interest in high yield accounts, growing in the market, or paying down high interest debt. It's just sitting there, dormant, lifeless. That's thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars in potential growth over years just vanished into the air because your money didn't have a job. Third, you make every single financial decision based on fear, not a plan. The question of, can I afford this, isn't answered by looking at your life goals. It's answered by a panicked glance at your banking app. Is there enough money there right now to cover this? This is how you end up living a life of limitations. You say no to trips, hobbies, and investments in yourself, not because they're bad choices, but because the immediate cash flow feels just a little bit too tight. Your checking account balance becomes a tyrannical boss, dictating what you can and cannot do. That's not control, that's being controlled. And finally, the most insidious part of the checking account trap, you have no idea where you actually stand. A positive balance is a financial mirage. It's a snapshot of the single moment with zero context. You could have $5,000 in your checking account today and feel rich, but what if you also have $20,000 in high interest credit card debt, no retirement savings, and property tax due next week? Are you rich? No. You're on the brink of disaster. Your checking account balance doesn't show your net worth or your cash flow or your progress towards your goals. It's a single meaningless data point that lulls you into a false sense of security while your financial house is quietly falling apart. He says, I've noticed as soon as they pay out a dividend, the price of a stock gets cheaper. I buy a lot of it when it does that, a little off the top, but I thought I'd share it. Yes, so the ex dividend date is the first date that the stock price is not including the dividend amount. So the day of the ex dividend date and a few days after that, the stock does dip, whatever the share amount is. Now, if the stock continues to go up on that share amount, you get. But if you also pay attention to the stock market, like 3 to 5 days before the ex dividend date, within 7 days of the ex dividend date, you might see it go down even further than that. And you might be able to get those shares even cheaper, where it would be when it goes up, it's going to go up higher than what you paid for it. It's going to go down the share value. So if you've got like 12 cents a share, 5 cents a share, $1 a share on some of these things, it might go down at 12 cents a share, right? And then it'll go back up. So you get it at 12 cents a share cheaper than what it was the day before. But if you would have looked at it a few days before the ex dividend date to a week before the ex dividend date, you might find that it might have been 50 cents cheaper per share, and you would have got it way cheaper. It would still went up higher than what you were paying for it. And the ex dividend date is going to go down at 12 cents, but it'll still be like 30 cents higher than what you paid for it. So that's one way to look at it. You don't have to buy in the day that you get money. Anytime within 30 days of that particular payout, because the ex dividend date happens once a month. So anytime between the time that you get money and upload it onto the platform until the ex dividend date, you can put the money up the day before, or you could put the money up 5 days before. You can catch something 2 weeks before the ex dividend date where it's for some reason down an extra dollar. Buy into it at that moment, whenever it happens. But yes, guaranteedly, the day of or the day after it pays out dividends, it will go down the dividend price. And that is a guaranteed low that you can buy into that gives you a few extra pennies on top of it. But if you're trying to time the market, which I don't recommend, but if you're going to time the market, you want to do it like mid month, like 2 weeks after the ex dividend was paid, 3 weeks after the ex dividend was paid, which is a week before the ex dividend gets paid the following month, and see what the market is looking like. Because if it's down 50 to 75 cents from what it was 2 or 3 weeks ago, because what happens is people doing the extended rotation strategy will buy in within the week of, sometimes a couple days of the ex dividend date, and then within the first 48 to 72 hours after the ex dividend date, sell off. So if you buy it on the ex dividend date, it only went down the 12 cents a share. But if you waited like 8 days, it might go down 50 cents. It might have been 75 cents down before the ex dividend date, and you could have bought in a few days before the ex dividend date, And while it would have went down 12% after the fact and went back up, you would have caught it when it was 75% down. So it would have still been like 50, 60% higher than what you paid for it when they did pay the ex-dividend date. So if you're putting money onto the platform and holding it until you're looking for that sweet spot to buy in, especially if you have the opportunity to check it every afternoon. If it's down by a lot, get it. If it's down by a lot more than what it was down a few days ago, get it. But that's something that happens on a regular basis. But y'all see, Steven is the kind of guy that is actively paying attention to his money. He is an architect of what he's trying to accomplish. He's buying and holding everything he's putting his money down on, and he is making sure that he is doing it in a way where he is getting as much out of it as he possibly can get out of it, and then reinvesting the dividends to make sure that over time he's going to be seeing a larger return on his investment. He's seeing those monthly returns, but as he sees those monthly returns, now he's starting to rethink his position on how to capitalize and expand on those returns, which is not something that a lot of people plan for. It's not something that a lot of people budget into, but it is something that you should be budgeting into because that is how, as we go through the rest of today's show, that is how you go from flying by the wayside to living a life of rally. When you have a second source of income, if you're making $20 an hour in your job and you're getting 300, 400, $500 a month off of your brokerage account, that doesn't replace your whole job, but it damn sure can switch you from working double overtime to working 40 hours a week. You know what I mean? And that's not something that people think about. And when that money starts building up to where it starts covering two, three, $4,000 a month, now it's replacing your salary. And while you can keep working, you can also decide to quit your job at this point. That's called early retirement. But you reach early retirement if you're like Stevens right now, 30 years, 36 years old. If he was to do this for 20 years, he would be 56 years old. They expect you to retire at like 65 or 70. If he's doing this for 20 years and he's got a million or $2 million in his brokerage account and he's getting that 15% return on investment, which would likely give him close to $300,000 a year at any point after the first 500,000 or $700,000, which would have been like the first 10 to 15 years, he could have said, "Fuck this job. I'm going to retire at 40. I'm going to retire at 45." But if he wants to grind out to maximize his ability to have the kind of lifestyle he wants in his older age, he could continue to ride that wave for another 10 to 15 years. When he makes that 50 to 60 years old, he can pull the plug on mandatory guaranteed permanent retirement. And now with a $300,000 lifestyle, if he was living a lifestyle that was under $100,000 a year, if he's bringing in $300,000 a year, 20, 25 years down the line, he can now retire with confidence, upgrade his standard of living from what it is to what he wants it to be, and still have plenty of money left over to reinvest into the principal to offset inflation and still be able to go on vacations and everything to that effect. Because the standard of living that you have does not include the luxury entertainment lifestyle that you want to have. The standard of living that you have is the basic requirements: rent, light, gas, water, transportation, get around, groceries, and clean clothes on your back. That's the standard. That's the basics. Football games, concerts, trips around the world, what, Six Flags, Disney World, all this other shit. That stuff, that's the extra luxuries in life that can be there and cannot be there, but the standard of living that must be there is the stable housing that you're living at, the stable transportation get you to and from the doctor's office, the stable money that's paying for the food that you eat, the stable money paying for your clothes to be cleaned and replaced and stuff to that effect. The basics, that standard of living goes from what Steven's got right now to what he wants it to be. And that only comes from long-term stability and focused investing on the things that you believe and that you know from research is going to still be around in 50 years. Instead of living for today, this man's living for retirement. And the irony is, if he takes what we talk about on the show and he interacts with these females that he's talking to on the college campus, he gonna find that they are not ready. That doesn't mean that some of them aren't qualified. But when you go and you start asking a woman, what does her retirement life look like? What plan does she have? She gonna give you that Miss America. Oh, I want to be happy. I want to be healthy. I want to, travel. Blah 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 blah. But you're rarely going to find anybody, man or a woman, that didn't come to this podcast that would be able to specifically tell you exactly where they saw themselves in 10 or 20 years and what they plan to do to get there. Most people have no fucking clue where they're going to be at in 5 years. Most of the time, you talk to a college student, they hope to graduate in the next 3 to 4. They have no plan on if they're still in college for 8 years. They have no plan on what they're going to do after they get out of college. They hope that they can find a job. But what if you're too old for the field that you're trying to get into? If you're not going to start your own business where your age doesn't matter, how are you going to start working for somebody else when they're hiring people a third of your age? Because if you get out of college at 46 and they're hiring people at 18, they're not going to hire you even though you qualify. Not because you're not good at what you could do, but because this person they can invest 20 years in. You got 10 to 15 left. And ultimately, because the younger version is easily mentorable and the older version is set in their ways and they know what they want, that's typically why businesses do not hire older individuals. They hire older individuals that already got years of experience because they're looking for middle management. They don't hire older individuals for intro level positions because intro level positions are shut the fuck up and do what you're told positions. Age significantly matters. And that's going to be one of the things that we talk about with relationships with women is that, a woman that reaches a certain age where she knows what she wants and she's unwilling to flex on that, that's going to be one of the reasons why men aren't going for it. Because that same reason why big business doesn't go for it, same reason why it doesn't go for it in a relationship. If you're not willing to be molded to this relationship, you're going to set the dictate terms and try to turn this into like a hostile takeover like the United States and Iran. You're not going to be an equal partner to the person that you're getting into a relationship with, especially when their resources is what you're after. That's not a uniform discussion there, right? But not too many people agree with that. But well, not too many women agree with that. The men know what I'm talking about. But that's going to be one of the reasons why we have to change the way we do what we do. So if you're thinking about your 5, 10, 20, 30 year plan, Stephen believes he's going to be getting out of college within 4 years. I believe he's going to be getting out of college within 6. If you plan for 7 or 8 years more college because you just got out, you're going to your 4 year, and if you plan on 6 years for your 4 year, even if you think you're getting out in 2 to 3, if you plan on 6 years for your 4 year, what are you going to be doing over the next 6 years? Then, based on what you plan on doing over the next 6 years, where do you plan on going after that? And if after that has a prerequisite, are you working on it now? Most people don't have that mentality. You're coming out of you're in an arts and science degree. You're going to need volunteer work. You're going to need internships. You're going to need mentorships. You're going to need shadowing. You're going to need referrals, recommendations. Are you collecting that stuff right now? Not too many people are doing that. Then they wonder why, when they get out of college, they ain't got shit to show for nothing. They got a piece of paper and no prospects because you were supposed to be getting those prospects before you got started. He says Steven is going to need therapy. He gonna be a fucking therapist. Every therapist needs therapy. He's going into the psych field. Everybody in the psych field needs psychs. Every psychiatrist needs a fucking psychiatrist. That's just how that works, bro. With all the bullshit that you listen to on your job, bro, you need either a priest or pastor or somebody to vent to so that you can get this bullshit off your chest without breaking confidentiality clauses. Because you can't talk to your homeboys about it. You can't talk to your friends and family about it. You can't bring your job home with you. Because if you talk about anything from your job at your house and somebody who heard about it talk about it with their friends and they get back to the source, they can sue you. So you would have to go and talk to somebody who's paid to shut the fuck up and not say shit about what you said. And typically with medical professionals, that's why medical professionals have medical professional relationships with other medical professionals. Their ability to keep their mouths shut, they'll over a cup of scotch, sit there and talk to you about a crazy patient, and nobody talk about it after that. Like it'd just be between the two of y'all and the bartender. And ironically, one of the best therapists in the world is the most underrated ones, a fucking bartender, because they listen to your shit and they provide you with an immediate solution. Make it a triple. That's it. Your problems are going to be immediately rectified by turning your single shot to a triple shot, drinking 3 of these, and then take your ass home and rethink your position. Look, I'm laughing and drinking coffee at the same time. Look, I had a flashback of when I was serving customers and giving them advice in the middle of the night. Dude was like, man, and this was before I started my podcast. Dude was like, man, you should teach people. I'm sitting here like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea. And it took a while because he was telling me in 2021 that I would be good at this. And he told me from 21 to 22 that I'd be good at this. And I started making changes in 22 and 23. I started doing this. And now here we are in 26, and it's like, damn, I wish I had started doing this sooner. I got to reach out to my man and see how he's doing. But he's in the Air Force right now. He wasn't in the Air Force before I started talking to him, but I started talking to him and motivated him into doing the right things and ended up in the right places and ended up where he needed to be at so that he could be where he is right now. So I'm proud of him as well. Now, what would be some alternatives to living paycheck to paycheck, living off your bank account? How do you break free from the cycle of reacting, fearing, and then guessing? Well, there is going to be a better way, and it starts with a fundamental shift in how you think. So you need to stop seeing your money as just a pile of cash in one account. Start seeing it as a flow. You need a system. The solution isn't some complex algorithm or risky investments. It's a coordinated cash flow system. It's a structured way to manage how money enters, moves through, and then grows within your life. And this whole system is designed to do three powerful things for you: achieve stability, efficiency, and then wealth. So let's define those categories real quick, because these are going to be the pillars of your new financial life. First, let's talk about stability. This is going to be your foundation. Stability means that you can cover your reoccurring bills and your unexpected expenses without the gut wrenching panic, right? It's knowing that a flat tire is an inconvenience, not a financial crisis. It's the peace of mind that comes from having breathing room. Second, efficiency. This is about making your money work smarter. A huge part of efficiency is systematically finding and killing the things that drains your financial resources. Uh, you want to be a chief among these criterias, and then pay attention to high interest debt. Expensive debt from credit cards or personal loans is like trying to run a race with a parachute strapped to your back. It's a constant drag on your forward momentum. Efficiency is cutting that parachute loose. He said flat tire is just a bump in the road. If you got the money to pay for the tire. See, here's the thing. When you think about a pair of a flat tire just being a bump in the road, you've got a flat, but you've got a spare. Flat tires just a bump in the road. You pull over, it's about 15, 20 minutes of inconvenience, 30 minutes of inconvenience if the weather is bad. You don't have a spare. It's a 45-minute to an hour inconvenience, 2, 3 hours to get the car towed. If you don't have free towing on your car insurance or AAA or something like that, now it's $150 expense, 3 hours of inconvenience. You might have to start canceling some fucking appointments. But remember, if you don't have a fucking spare, now you're looking at either being told to hopefully open used tire shop that's not guaranteeing the quality of the tire, or a new tire shop that might cost more money for the tire than what it costs for the tow to the tire shop. Now, if you're underprepared for this situation, it's not a bump in the road, because a flat tire could either be 15, 20 minutes of inconvenience, or a $150 tow with a $300 tire that you originally did not have the money set aside for. Now, if you were the kind of person that had a spare in the car, you might have a membership with Firestone. You might be able to charge it to your Firestone card. You could get the flat this month, put the spare, drop it off at the place while you're doing what you're doing, pick it up in a couple of weeks, pay for it, and then a few weeks after you pay for it, put some money down on the account to pay that down. Where over the course of 6 weeks, it's a minor bump in the road because you were only inconvenienced the time it took to change that tire. But if you have no preparation on that, it could be a drastic inconvenience in your life, time consuming and wealth consuming. Is that that's a good reason to plan for the worst and hope for the best. But I agree with you on that. You do need to plan for the worst and you do need to hope for the best, but you also need to plan for the best as well, because you can only put so much emphasis on the worst case scenarios. You can put take what I got going on. I got a second battery in the car, tow strap, gas can, uh, Lucas oil, so that I don't got to worry about the oil disappearing in the car. I got Lucas oil, full synthetic Lucas oil. So when I check my oil, I top it off with some shit that ain't going nowhere. Uh, jacks, jack stands, jumper cables. You can fill your trunk up with equipment. Two spare tires. You can fill your trunk up with a bunch of equipment. But something will happen, and it's not inside of your control. Like recently, my brake switch broke. So nobody knows when my brake lights are coming on because they never go off. That means go and buy a switch, take the piece off the car, put another piece on the car, or pay somebody to put the piece on my car. Right? You can't plan for everything, worst case scenario. But what you can do is you can plan for the majority of things. Well, Steven says AAA, but Steven, here's the problem with AAA though. I love AAA to a minimalistic degree. AAA will only come and get your car 4 times a year. That includes jump starts, that includes filling it up with gas, that includes towing it off the side of the road. So you got to be strategic as to when you're calling AAA, because AAA is not unlimited tows. AAA is 4 times a year. And I think you might get 6 or 8 tows, or they might give you more mileage if you're paying for the platinum plan. But if you've got the basic or the gold plan, they're getting you 4 times a year. They're showing up 4 times a year. And then after that, you got to figure it out. So if you've got the kind of vehicle that might need to get picked up more than that, or if you decided to use your AAA to help one of your friends out, which goes against your account, so now you got less tows. If you don't got enough tows to come and get your ass the next time you need a tow, you're in a situation where your homie is not going to get you a free tow because they needed you to help them get a free tow because they ain't had the money for a tow. That is why me and AAA don't go do it as far, because I only had to use them once this year. Right, but you know what, Steven? If you've got a decent insurance, you should have free tow on your insurance. So why pay the monthly premiums for AAA when you can just pay a larger premium on your insurance company to get unlimited tows? Matter of fact, if you're the kind of person that could give 2 shits about your insurance company covering a rental car, you can take that rental car off of your policy and make sure that they come and get your car off the side of the road for any kind of breakdown. And that just saves you money, because AAA is a tow feature that really benefits uninsured motorists. Or if you're towing vehicles that are not yours, but in your possession, where the insurance ain't going to come get it because you weren't the owner of the car, but you need it picked up off the side of the road. That's what AAA is for. But you yourself, you got car insurance, your car insurance got a tow feature on it. Even with basic liability, your car insurance should have a tow feature on it. So why pay for AAA to get a tow once a year when your car insurance would have towed it without having to raise your premiums once a year? So you can, all you got to do is call your insurance company, make sure that you got unlimited tolls on your policy, and then turn off AAA, and you just save $35 a month. You're welcome. He said, got a monkey in the trunk. I don't have a monkey in the trunk. If I had a monkey in the trunk, I got it big enough to fit 5 monkeys. But, you know, a lot of these monkeys got warrants. They got ankle monitors on. They be their probation officer come looking for them. I can't afford to get these monkeys. They weed, you know. Woo. He said, I won't ride without AAA. It's less than $200 a year. Right. And so is your car insurance. I'm being serious. I'm being serious. I'm being serious, Stephen. You do the research first and then thank me later. Contact your current insurance company. Find out how many times you can get your car towed inside of the 6 month policy that you have for the current premiums that you have. When you verify that your insurance company will send a tow truck just as quickly as AAA, you could save $200 a year. I'm not telling you to be unprepared because see the difference between your car insurance and AAA is AAA has a limit to the number of tows they're going to offer. Your car insurance is not going to cancel you unless you crash your car a certain number of times, where they have to take out a massive $5,000 or $10,000 claim a certain number of times. But if your car needs to be towed 2, 3 times every 6 months, you're not gonna get shitty about that. You're just towing a car. That's part of the insurance policy. There's no damage, there's no crash. Your car broke down and you need to relocate it at least once. And they typically will tow your car for free from where it broke down at to the nearest mechanic shop or your house, whichever one's closer. Now, if you want to hold on to AAA so that you could tow it a second time for free, I mean, probably, but it $200 a year for AAA's peace of mind. If you like it, keep it. But I'm telling you, as far as your usage versus your expenses towards it, it's not benefiting you when you have two tow features between two policies that you pay for and you're only using one of them. That's what I'm pointing out. If you were trying to tow your vehicle 400 miles and your car insurance might tow it some of the way, AAA might tow it some of the way, that would make sense. But if you just towed your car one time, like 30, 40 miles from where it broke down to your house or to the nearest mechanic shop, you've only had to do that one time in the last year, you could have did that with your car insurance and saved $200. It's like having a gym membership at Planet Fitness and another one at LA Fitness. You're only going to go to one gym at a time. It doesn't matter if one has amenities that the other one doesn't have. What matters is that you're going to the gym once and you're paying for two memberships. That's exactly what you're doing right now. You have two tow policies, one on your car insurance and one with AAA, and you're only using AAA. Just think about it. Think about it, double check it, get back to me. Because tomorrow, Friday, yeah, tomorrow's Friday, so it's a work day. So you can call them. They'll answer your questions about your policy coverage. He says, if the car breaks down every other month, I would drop you. Well, I guess if you want to claim that, um, okay, so here's the problem with that logic, Michael. If his car breaks down every other month and all he needs is a tow, and he has unlimited tows on his insurance policy, right? He can get as many tows as he wants because the policy that he signs on says unlimited tow. He can get it towed 6 times every. He can get it towed once a month. He can get it towed once a month. But if he needs to tow it once a month, he should fix it so that he doesn't have to tow it that often. But my point was not that. See, you're straw man topic in the situation. You're strawmanning the situation, trying to come up with a hypothetical that he has a completely unreliable vehicle. In that situation, then you would be driving a drunk vehicle. Straw man topic, not the main topic. Straw man topic, you would be driving an unreliable vehicle, and you would probably have to either fix it or replace it. But I was saying under the dynamic that he said that he doesn't drive with AAA because it's $200 a year and it guarantees him extra tows outside of his insurance policy. And he said that he's only had to use it one time since January. And I'm telling him that out of the 6 month policy that he had when he would have towed it the one time, the second 6 month policy, he wouldn't have had a tow on that 6 month policy. He could have just towed it through his insurance. And not too many people know that a non crash related tow can be covered by your car insurance. He didn't know that until I told him today. That's why he's got AAA. Now that I told him that a non crash related tow is covered under your car insurance, you just got to make sure it's on your policy before you drop your AAA. He might decide to drop the AAA. He might decide to keep it, but he might decide to drop the AAA because if the $200 a year for the AAA, he don't need it, he can save $200 a year. If he got to pay an extra $100 a year on his car insurance to have unlimited tows on his car insurance, he still saves $100 a year on the 4 tows a year that he gets from AAA. He's got more protection and more peace of mind because the same number that he calls for the crash would be the same number that he calls when a car breaks down. That's the difference. Now, again, AAA is more fluid because AAA will pick up whatever car you're driving because it is to the owner of the policy, not the owner of the car. So with AAA, he could get his dad's car towed because he's with his dad. His car insurance is only going to tow the cars on the policy. That's going to be the only benefit that AAA has that a private car insurance doesn't have, is that AAA will tow whatever car you tell it to tow, as long as you have a positive account with AAA and you still have tows left. He says he won't drive without AAA. I agree with the double coverage. I'd get rid of one if possible. And that's exactly what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying. He's over. The only time it makes sense is if he's towing other people's shit. And if he's towing other people's shit, I would have other people giving me $75 for the call to tow truck company. Because if I'm paying $200 a year and I got 3 or 4 people asking me to get them a tow, I should be turning a profit on that so that my AAA is fucking free. Because the average person typically only needs to tow their car once a year, twice a year at the most. Once a year for a breakdown, and one more time out of the year if they get into a car crash. So the one time that you do use it, it should be from your car insurance. If you can get rid of one of them, you should, because that's a waste of money. If you had the situation where you had to tow a bunch of cars, then I would get AAA. But think about it like this though. If you had 4 or 5 cars on a stacked insurance policy, each car on the policy gonna get the same number of tows. So if you had to switch out cars into a different car every month, and you had to rotate out your 5 cars, and each one of them had to get to, your insurance company would still come get it. You still wouldn't need AAA, but AAA would be fucking around and only towing 4 cars once. So the 5th car, you got to pay $150 plus $25 a mile or some shit like that. He says $75 more like $178 to have your vehicle towed. No, no, no. So if I'm paying $200 a year for AAA and my friend asked me to get them a tow truck, since I'm paying $200 a year, I would charge my friend $75. Because if 3 friends ask me for a tow, that paid for my AAA. I'm only allowed to tow 4 cars a year under my AAA policy. So if I'm going to get paid $75 a car to tow truck, I can get 3 friends to pay for my policy for the year and tow 3 out of 4 cars and still have one free tow for myself. That's what I was talking about. But you are correct. It would be like, because it's like 150 something plus the dollar per mileage. So yeah, it would be like $178 to have your car towed without AAA. You are definitely right about that. You had like $178, and if it's far, it might be $225. Remember that day I was late for the show, and I told y'all that the car had broke down right outside of Tennessee, and I had to tow it back to where I was going. And it cost me $125 to tow that car that day. But they cut me a deal because they was gonna tow my car a second time. And they towed, and it was like 8 months later, they towed my car a second time. And it was another $125 to tow my car a second time. So I paid $300 to tow my car twice because at the time I didn't think to get it towed under the car insurance. And I also didn't want to wait time to get my insurance to come and get it. So I was like, fuck it, I'll just put it on my car. I paid for convenience. But if I didn't mind waiting 4 hours for my insurance to send somebody to come and get it, I could have got the car towed for free that day. At least once. But the one time that my car did break down recently, what was it, like May, when I told y'all that I switched cars because I had called my buddy about it and I told him about it. They picked the car up. The tow truck came within 2 hours, picked up the car, towed it for free. I didn't even have to get an Uber or nothing. The tow truck driver drove us back with the car. And this is one of the reasons why I tell you, well, shit, if I would have been wasting money on AAA, that'd be extra $200 a month that I could be putting somewhere else. And 15% return on investment, that's like $30 a year more money that I could be getting off of that $200 sitting somewhere, which is $230 a year that I could be adding to my portfolio every year that nobody really considers. That every little penny that you don't need to be wasting on stuff that you thought was beneficial for you, but it's not, is every penny that you could be putting somewhere else, opportunity cost. And that's where we bring ourselves to the third scenario, wealth. This is the ultimate goal where you move from surviving to thriving. Wealth isn't just for the rich, right? It's not just for the rich. It's the process of actively redirecting your extra cash into assets that grow your net worth over time. It's your money making money for you, building a future where you have options and freedom. So, how do you actually build this system? You do it by following a clear step-by-step blueprint. And today we're going to be giving you that blueprint. We're going to call these rules the 10 rules for financial control. I should probably just put this in the membership instead of the guide that I put up. I should just write it like the 10 commandments of wealth. But don't think of these as restrictive rules, but as liberating principles. Each one is a simple, actionable step that builds on the last one, creating a powerful automated system that runs in the background, freeing you from the daily stress of money management. You have got to have a destination. And Michael, you're right. You are right, Michael. You got to have a plan. But first of all, what do you have a plan for? In football, the destination is the goal. The plan is how to get there. In basketball, the destination is the net. The plan is how to get there. Even with defense, the objective is to stop the other person from making a point. The plan is how to do it. Your vacation, the destination is the location that you're going to. The plan is how to get there. Your career path, the destination is where you want to be at in the company. The plan is how to get there. Your education, how many degrees do you want to get? The plan is how to get there. So you got to have a plan, but before you have a plan, you got to have a destination. You have got to have a destination. And that's one of the reasons why I ask you guys, where do you see yourself in 5, 10, 20, 30 years? What do your retirement plans look like? Because that's your destination. The plan is how you get there. And that's a two-part process on a great question, Stephen. You out there asking some of them sorority girls, what does your retirement look like? Oh, no. You already know she ain't got no plan. But if she give you one of them Miss America pageant answers, well, how do you plan on getting there? That's when she's going to say, I don't know. Because she may have answered the surface level question of where do you see yourself in the future? Perfect life, happiness, stress free. How the fuck are you going to get there? What are you going to do to get there? I can guarantee you that very rarely you will find somebody that's actually going to have that answer. But it's not about them having the answer. It's about them trying to figure that shit out in front of you. And you're able to tell whether or not you've got a decisive person that is at least willing to work it out with you, or an indecisive person that is definitively living in the moment. A person that can start trying to map a plan out together in front of you and be willing to accept alternatives is more cooperative than a person that doesn't really give a shit. They're just enjoying the moment. He says, Stephen, the first question you ask, do you put out, go sit your ass down and take a time out. That you should never have to ask that question, because the answer to that question is if they have a pulse, they do. It just depends on how much. You just got to realize that. And I don't know, some females gonna disagree with that, but really and truly, you have some women that have put out for free, and you have some that have put out after a few days. You have some that put out with a standard price. Everybody has their price. It just depends on how much you have to pay. He said, hell, he's in college. Exactly. Some of them are free. Some of them, if you provide them with the drinks and alcohol and drugs that they need, they'll do it for that. Some will do it to ride their expensive car. That's why he was thinking about the Benz. Some will do it for the experience of the date. It just depends on the person. You know, some will do it to rebel against their family because their family is strict. But the question isn't, do they? The question is, how much? So you should take that question out, because your long term goal, short term gratification is, does she put out? The long term satisfaction is, can I build a life with a woman that should be able to put out on a regular basis? Steven says, I have to agree with Michael with the order of questions. Well, you're still a young man. You haven't gotten there yet. When you've got money to lose, you're going to be like, nope, 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 nope. I think that Xander's got the right idea. Because here, think about it like this: if you recognize that the person you are going to commit to should, in fact, put out on a regular basis, this isn't a one night stand. This isn't smashing college girls to say that you smash college girls. Because I could tell you 10 or 15 years out of college, you're not going to remember half of the girls you slept with. And the difference between a college girl and a barroom woman is absolutely nothing, except they claim that they got a degree or they actually do have a degree. The difference between a stripper or a pole dancer that's claiming that they're doing this to pay for their tuition and the girls in college that are willing to do what the pole dancers do is absolutely nothing. They're all women, first and foremost. So when you think about the kind of woman that will drain your wealth versus the kind of woman that will build your wealth, if you're sleeping with both of them, you're going to choose the one that's not going to bleed you dry over the one that will. So since the question is not, does she put out, the question is, if she's putting out, is she going to drain your wallet, or is she going to build on it for you? When you look at it like that, the first question out of your mouth is not, is she putting out, because you're after the wrong thing. The first question is, does she build you up? Because if she doesn't, she's going to be a financial liability. Even if she does put out, your wealth will be washed away. And just for the sake of, Donald Trump spent $135,000 on his, so she put out too. And that woman got paid more than most people get paid per year to smash the president. So, since that's the way things are, it's not if, it is just how much, right? He said, you're sleeping with mom. Hey, somebody's mom. Somebody's mom. That's the dynamic, the understanding. Now, this is going to be the heart of our transformations, right? Changing our mindsets. So we're going to build your coordinated cash flow system from the ground up, rule by rule. We're going to do it in 4 phases: the diagnostic layer, the stability layer, and the optimization layer. And the protection and maintenance layer, you got to remember these. In the diagnostic layer, you're going to build your awareness. Mind over, it's not so much mind over matter. That's a good saying that a lot of people use, and a lot of the sayings and slogans actually have been used so much they don't hold the weight that they need to. This is going to be logic and rationale over impulse and emotions, right? You have to know what you're doing and why you're doing it, not simply just um, taking action, because your mindset over the matter at hand only goes so far. Because as you've seen, one of the most promising investors on this channel that has learned from this channel was quick to say, I just want to see if she'll put out. His mind was conquered by the matter of fact that he might get laid. And again, like I say, that'll make a billionaire broke. Lust will make a billionaire broke. Yeah, I need a therapist. No, you need to go check the calendar on your front door and see how many people signed up this week. That's what you need to do. Michael puts a calendar and women pass by and just sign their name as to which days they're going to drop by and give him some friendly time. You need to go check that calendar. Start making some phone calls. Now, remember, you guys cannot get to where you're going if you don't know where you are right now. So the first phase, that is going to be all about creating your financial map. So you want to know what your reality is with your finances. And this is going to be an absolute non-negotiable. I tell you guys this on a regular basis. You want to manage your money without making mistakes, and you can't do that without looking at your money like a doctor, trying to be a surgeon uh, uh, with your budget, but you don't want to do it blindfolded. Debt to income is a good, yes, debt to income is a good financial term, but you have to really understand what your debt is in comparison to your income, and you have to create an accurate current snapshot of the 4 things that matter: what you earn, what you own, what you owe, and what you're spending. Because when you think about how much you earn and how much that you owe that you don't have to pay for, how much that you own in your possession that you don't have to pay for, versus the things that you owe money to, versus the things that you want to spend money on, the things that you want to spend money on and the things that you owe people money for are going to be the 2 biggest things that impact your debt to income. And the things that you own, that you have legal possession of, that you could potentially liquidate in order to pay off what you owe or aid you in buying something that you want to spend on. That's going to be the combination of your debt to income or your net income, or not net income, your net worth, when we start talking about how much you have to pay off in debt versus how much you have to pay it off. And when you have debt to income and debt to credit, and debt to credit is how much money that banks are willing to front you, advance you, versus how much you owe. And you have debt to income, how much money you make versus how much money you owe, right? So that's a good observation there, Michael. Very good observation. So let's break down what we're talking about here. What you earn is going to be the total after taxes income, not before taxes income. Uh, the paycheck, the side hustle, any benefits that you have along the woodworks, brokerage accounts, online websites to turn over money, anything. What you owe is going to be a list of all your debts: credit cards, student loans, car loans, owe your friend money, whatever it is. For each, you need the total balance and the interest rate, which is the annual percentage rate, and the minimum monthly payment. And what you own is going to be your assets like cash. Yeah, but also any investments, 401ks, the brokerage accounts. What you spend is going to be a tricky one because for 1 month, you need to track every single dollar that you have. And then for one season or 2 seasons, you want to track how much you have spent before because you might find that there are fixed expenses like rent that are easy and the variable expenses like groceries, gas, dining out, subscriptions, where you'll find a mystery leak somewhere where your money disappears and you didn't know where. Just like today, we just found out that Steven's paying for 2 tow companies and he only needs one. Like he didn't realize that that money was leaking out of his account because he wasn't aware before we started talking on the show today that he already has unlimited tows with his car insurance. Had he known that, he might have not have got AAA. But assuming that the tow company is only for crashes on your car insurance, most people get AAA not knowing that you got unlimited tows. Some people got phone companies that have free tow service. Then you also have some people who buy tires from tire shops that have free roadside assistance embedded in the price. If you get the policy for that warranty, as long as those tires are on that car, if you need a tow, you can call them people up and they'll come tow your car for free. So there's so many different places that a tow is offered. Hey, you just got to check your policies to see where they're at. And then you don't have to pay for extra because if you're paying for a tow with your car insurance, your tow with the roadside assistance with your tire shop, and then the tow with AAA, now you got 3 tow company policies and you're only going to use one tow out the year. You're wasting money on the rest of the tows if you don't get a chance to benefit from them. And they don't roll over. That's one of the worst things because AAA might give you 4 tows a year, but they're not going to roll over and say, well, you haven't gotten a tow in 20 years. So you have 280 something tows. That's not what they're going to do. Michael says, no debt, low overhead. Life is own land, own rentals. I had a plan which got me to where I am today. Congratulations. He said, but that's me, not everyone else. Each is different. Bro, most of the people are trying to get to where you are. In 30 years, hopefully, we're all where you are right now. And that would be the way to get there is to get those rental plans. You do have to have a budget and you have to stick to those budgets. But you also have to be practical about what you've got going on because if you pay attention to the things that you're supposed to pay for versus the things you don't need to pay for, you can trim some things in some places. That's why I tell you read the contracts. That's why I tell you to look at your policies, look at your entitlements. You look at your entitlements on your job because a lot of the wages are publicly posted. People just don't look at the policies for their job. You guys are leaving resources and benefits on the table. And then sometimes you're knowingly paying for benefits that you need, not knowing that those benefits are covered somewhere else. You just got to look at everything that you've got going on. And you'll come to find out, I could probably save me a few $100s here and there. And when you free up that $200, even if you free up that $200 and you don't put it into your brokerage account, you now have $200 extra to buy groceries, put gas in a car. Shit, that's a lot of 200 extra dollars. I know it's $200 extra a year, but that's like what, $20, 20, 15 to $20 a month for 12 months of service, which is still like half a tank of gas, a quarter tank of gas, depending on how much you pay for gas. That's a lot of money right now. It's a lot of money right now that is going to something that you only use once that you didn't need to use. You could have used something else. So the point of this is not to feel guilt or shame. It's about turning the vague, overwhelming stress that you feel from having too much shit to pay for, not enough money to pay for, into a set of measurable, solvable problems. You no longer are fighting a fog of anxiety. You are looking at a spreadsheet with clear numbers. You're gathering data. You're becoming the scientist of your own finances, right? Then you want to build a realistic budget, like Michael said, building that budget. I know that the word budget makes people cringe. It's going to feel like a financial diet full of misery, but we got to reframe it. This isn't going to be a budget, it is a cash flow plan. It's a proactive plan for your money. You are telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. Using the data from your inventory, you build this plan. It's going to be simple. You want to start with the total net income that you have. First list, you're going to have this. You're going to be your fixed obligations, which is going to be your housing, your utilities, your insurance, phone bill, shit like that, right? Groceries, right? The minimum debt payments that you have to have for anything that you've got to pay for every month. These are going to be your non-negotiables, right? Once that stuff is covered, your allocation for the rest of it is cool, right? You're good now. This is where you're in your cool man phase. So the common guideline is going to be the 50-30-20 rule. 50% is going to be for needs. I typically tell you your lifestyle should be under 30%, but that would be 30% for needs, 20% for wants, 50% for all kinds of other shit, right? But fundamentally speaking, the 50-30-20 rule has 50% for needs, which means that what we just covered, the first list of mandatory requirements that has to be paid for, that would be in your 50%. 30% is for wants. Wants like taking a trip to Canada. Wants like going to the ACDC tour. Wants like taking trips around the world. Wants like traveling out of the country. Wants like taking this girl out on a date. Wants like buying a Benz to take this girl out on a date. That's wants in that 30%. Then 20% for savings. Now, notice though, if your standard of living was 30%, where 20% was wants, well, 30% was needs and 20% was wants, 50% of your lifestyle would be in your budget, and the other 50% could be for savings and investing. That would skyrocket your financial success over time. But the 20% would also cover debt repayment. So maybe out of the 20% for savings and extra debt repayment, you might have like 10% guaranteedly going towards your brokerage account and maybe 10% going towards extra debt payment. Or you might shave down some of your 30% of wants and maybe have 10% of wants and then have 20% for debt repayment and 20% for savings, where you're guaranteedly putting 20% towards your brokerage account. So you can adjust this however you like. The key is to be intentional about your budget. You say rule number one is pay yourself first. Right. But I completely agree with rule number one being pay yourself first. But here's the question, Michael. How much are you going to pay yourself? Because if your primary expenses must get paid, technically, rule number two is going to be pay yourself. Rule number one would be pay the primary base standard of living first so that you're not homeless. Isn't that crazy? Rule number one is supposed to be pay yourself first, but rule number one comes after rule number two, which is pay for your basic standard of living. Right, but 6%, and that's where this is where me and Michael actually are seeing eye to eye. If I'm paying myself 70%, 30% of my standard of living has to be inside of 100% of my income. My rent, light, gas, water, phone bill, car insurance, everything has to be inside of that 30% so that I could pay myself 70%. Because if my rent is 68% of my income, I can't pay myself 70%. That it is what it is. So it's not so much. That's why I'm telling you, if you look at when we covered the spread, if we looked at take shit that you got to pay for, your rent, your light, your gas, your water. If you're out of college, your student loans are a mandatory payment. If you don't have deferment, credit cards have minimum balances on them. You've got laundry. You've got all of the basic food. You got all of the basic things that you got to do. I could probably think of 10 things that are mandatorily required on a day-to-day operation that would be inside of what should be 50% of your income, but actually for the average American, it's about 70% of their income. 70 to 90% of their income is these 10 items, these 10 categories. Now, paying yourself first would mean that before you start doing discretionary spending, the 30% of wants, you pay yourself first, then do discretionary spending. So before you be financially irresponsible, you pay yourself first. So when you say rule number one, pay yourself first, technically it's pay yourself after you pay your bills. Then, before you waste money on bullshit, you must pay yourself first. So you might have to rephrase rule number one. Rule number one is pay yourself first before buying bullshit. That would be that would be a perfect edit to rule number one. Because otherwise, it's illogical. Even if you're putting money in your brokerage account, it's illogical if you're making, $5,000, your standard of living costs you $4,000. It's illogical to take $2,500 and put it into your brokerage account because you don't got enough money to pay your bills. You've got to be able to redirect. He said I could do 80%, but God wouldn't get paid. Wait a minute. So what you're telling me is that you're wasting money on somebody who is not God, that is taking money on behalf of the Lord. I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be doing that. I wouldn't be doing it. I know they got so many people who like, oh, I'm a diehard Christian. I got to give my 10% to the church. I got to give my 10% to the church. The kingdom of God is in you, not in the walls of no church and no steeple. So when you're doing the work of the Lord, instead of you giving your 10% to the church, you give your 10% to the homeless guy on the side of the road that need food, clothes, shoes, housing. Help him get a hotel room. Help him get a bus pass. Help him get a fucking job so that he don't got to beg for money no more. That's your 10%. Not going on Sunday and giving it to the pastor for the building fund and the pastor's Bentley. All right. Because you got a lot of religion out there right now. There's more churches than banks, and you got a lot of religions out there that are making billions of dollars on faith. And how many of us have improved our lives through that faith building? Yet, Stephen will tell you $2 a month because he was one of the ones that jumped in on a membership when the membership was low, $2 a month, and he's able to turn his fucking life around financially. And I'm not functioning as a church. I'm not functioning as a church. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He said, yeah, it's called charity. I help the kids living in the trailer park behind the Chevron gas station. Okay, now that makes sense. I'm with that. I'm with that. That would make sense. I would do that too. I would do a food drive or some shit, pay some people to cook some food up and drop it off to some hungry neighborhoods and stuff like that and feed some folks. That makes sense because you're doing directly to the people. You're giving directly to the people. You're not giving to an entity that is the image of help. You're actually being helped. That actually makes sense. I also don't get to the church. Hey, I don't blame you, bro, because I mean I'm not seeing the benefits for some of these. He said, I would never give money to a religious pimp. I mean, person, you had it right the first time. You're a religious pimp. He said, I do help folks that need it when I can, and I don't talk about it. And that's true because when you're doing work, when you're doing generosity, and I think it's in like Luke and John and other stuff. When you're doing it for the sake of, with no strings attached, you're not doing it for the glory. You're not doing it for the praise. You're doing it because you can and you know the other person needs it. That is the true signs of generosity and giving that is talked about in the Bible, but it's not projected that way in the churches because the churches claim that you get your blessings after you've done good deeds to other people and gave to other people. But the truth is that the Bible clearly states that if you have more than what you need, when you have two of something, you give one to the next man. So if you have extra, you give one to the next man. The fact is that in order for you to have extra, you had to have already been blessed because those who don't have enough is looking for enough. And that blessing is when they can get enough from somebody else. So when you do, they say the work of the Lord is done through the acts of man. So when a person with a kind heart takes their extra and gives it to a person that has less, that is the blessing being passed on from one person to the next. But in order for you to pass a blessing to the next person, you have to already be blessed. So you're not getting a blessing from doing the good deed. You were already blessed when you did that good deed. Then, when they talked about in the Bible about how it's tenfold given back to you, it's given back to you from the person who values your efforts tenfold based on how much they value the work you did, which is also in that exact same scripture where your generosity is gauged by their benefit and they contribute back to you tenfold. because that's how much they valued what you did. That which people don't think about that. They don't. They don't think about that. They do it the other way around. They're giving because they believe they're going to get something in return. And if you're giving with the expectation to give in return, you're not giving on good faith, and you're not performing the Christian acts. You're giving with the intent to receive, and that's not generosity or a blessing of any kind. That's actually a loan. It's a loan, or it's a favor with strings attached, and you just didn't tell the person what the stipulations were to receive that. He says, Christmas time I go to make a bear, a half bears made, and have my nieces give them out at the mall. Oh, that's nice. I wanted to go to one of those make a bear things and then put the tail on the wrong side and give those out. That would be phenomenal. To go out there and make like 40 or 50 bears and just like put the tail on the wrong side and then hand it out to all the women in the mall. Make a bear would be mad at me. Like, no, you can't have. I probably have to do it at different stores so that they don't catch on. Now, here's going to be the secret to the budget that actually works. Because when we start talking about the 50, 30, 20 rule, the hardest part about getting to that 50% of your income is shaving down your required spending and your desired spending down to a necessity based required spending of 50%. You must plan for irregular expenses. This is one of the things that you have to factor in. And this is going to be why most budgets fail. People forget car repairs, holiday gifts, annual subscriptions. Um, these, aspirational budgets have the unfortunate circumstances that they don't account for real life doom. You look at, like, for example, I had a membership where I was buying vitamins for my dog, and the shipping cost for the stuff was like $7 a pop, right? Well, I had a $70 membership with them, which almost doesn't pay for itself. But if through that annual membership I was getting monthly deliveries, it would actually end up being $2 or $3 less because they would shave off, I think, 10% of the purchase price of the item. So not only would I get free shipping, but I would also get a discount on the item. And that ultimately had me get potentially reimbursed on the $70 or $80 a month that I was spending on the item. When I'm not, they just surprised me and said, "Hey, guess what? It's July and you've got to pay your $80 annual membership." I didn't have it. Hey, guess what? We're canceling your membership. I don't fucking care. I wasn't planning on buying anything from y'all until probably October, November anyway. So when I start buying it from them again, then I'll get the membership. So you got to look a year ahead when you're doing this, right? Steven says, build a bear, Gina Crest, new policy after tonight's podcast. I gave a bunch of men a good idea because you know what's funny? You know what's funny? If you build a bear and you get the bear with the long tail, and then you get the bear with the small tail, and then you take like three different tails and you sew them on the wrong side. I don't know what happened. He said Gina Crest. I'm like, what the hell is a Gina Crest problem? I'm sitting there like I'm about to look that shit up. You're saying Build a Bear is going to create new policies after tonight's show. And as I said, like going to create new policies after tonight's show. But that's what I would do. I would get a long tail, two short tails, sew them all on the wrong side, and then go to girls. And you know what's funny? is that if you give a girl a teddy bear where the tails are sewed on the wrong side, they're gonna have all the dirtiest thoughts when they look at the other side and they see the tail on the wrong side. They're gonna have all the dirtiest thoughts. And then they try to avoid they're gonna try to avoid social scrutiny because they're not gonna want to keep the toy because of all the dirty thoughts that they're having about the toy. And they don't want to be negatively judged about the toy. It's crazy. It's crazy. But that's what I would do. That's what I would do. If I'm going to build a bear, I'm gonna build a bear. And at this point, I'm thinking I would have to get some this and that t-shirts. That's gonna make this way worse. Get the medium to large size build a bear. Put the shirt on the build a bear guy. Put the tail on backwards. Hand it to the chick. Yeah, double back, be like, can I get that bear back? Well, shit, if she sit that motherfucker down, it's not like I'm gonna walk away and just leave the bear to its own devices. I'm gonna kind of be in the vicinity when she put that bear down and walk away. I'm gonna pick that bitch up and I'm gonna go see to find another bitch that want it. Be like, somebody gonna want that motherfucker. They got toys in a sock drawer, so they want the bear. They just don't want to be judged by what they was thinking about doing with that bear if they took that bear home with them. That's what. But if she put it down, I'm like, hey, if you don't want it, I'll take it with me. You know, me and this bear got something in common. But um, think about what you're planning on spending next year. So if you think that you're planning on spending $1,200 on car maintenance and gifts in the upcoming year, that's like $100 a month that you need to set aside in your plan. And this actually helps for saving for Christmas. This helps for unsightly repairs because if you already kind of know, like for example, right now I got like a $2,500. No, 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 Michael, no, Michael. Hold on, let me help you out. Michael tripping. Michael gonna sit over here and talk about some small. That's not correct. This is correct right here. This right here, that's correct. He says small. It's not small. That's not small. If it ain't extra large, it's large. No, it's not. Who who's gonna put a small one on the bed? That's stitching it in there. That's too much work. It's got to be astronomically large. Now, um, when you start thinking about like car repair, like I was telling you guys a moment ago, like I got a $2,500 sunroof that I want to repair on my car, right? If I was trying to repair that inside of a year, I'd probably put like $250 a month aside to cover the cost of the repair. Or remember, I told you guys about car shield, right? Well, if I was gonna get car shield and $250 a month, and I'm putting like I could put 500 miles on my car. It is not that fucking hard. I can drive to Kansas. I can drive to Tennessee. I can drive from Kansas to Tennessee just to put the $100 on the 500 miles on the car, and then call in car shield and say, hey, I want to do something about my sunroof, and then they'll be like, sure. Now, whatever I would have paid them, probably 250 or $300 a month. I'd have to pay them 2 months worth of service in order for them to fix my sunroof. I would be getting my car fixed. And matter of fact, with that kind of policy, I'd probably be $300 a month paying them, $300 or $400 a month paying car shield, and then have them fix my sunroof, redo my heads, which is another like $3,000. Change out all the sensors on my car. I'd be like, boss dog, I'd be knocking that shit out. That's what I'm trying to tell you. He said, I do 500 miles every 3 or 4 days. That's what I'm trying to tell you. So, like, for example, you got your Toyota and you've got general repairs on your Toyota that's starting to be a little bit costly. If you put car shield on your car, you tell them that your car's in mint condition or reasonably good condition, they're not going to come and inspect your car. They're going to give you the policy. And then 30 days after you have the policy, you start cashing in on shit. You decide how much money you're going to pay per month on your policy based on what kind of repairs is in which tier. I would get the platinum tier. And the reason why I would get the platinum tier is because there's almost nothing they won't fix on the platinum tier. If you get the base model tier, certain shit isn't covered. And if you try to raise the premium after the claim, they're not gonna cover it under the claim. So you get the most expensive one they got, and then you rebuild the fucking car with that shit. Replace all the sensors, replace all the sunroof and everything to that effect. But before you get into it, you see what their limit is within 6 months. But you want to make sure that you wax that shit out. If you're paying like $600 or $1,000 over the course of 3 or 4 months, but you're getting like $10,000 worth of repairs out of that motherfucker, I'd be weighing their ass out. I mean, my car be in the shop every month, like, hey, get her done. They'll be like, oh, Xander's back. Damn right. Damn right. Xander's back with more shit. And if you can do more than one claim at one time, I probably put like 1,000 miles on it over the course of 2 months, and then I go to the mechanic and have them do the whole fucking car. Drop that bitch off and just have them like check off all the shit that needs to be fixed on it. Take a massive claim out on it, and then have them just cover 90% of the shit on my car. Get rid of the check engine light and all the codes on it. Get the car back one time. Had the car fully restored. 30 days later, cancel the policy. He says, fun conversation. Remember to like and subscribe. Now, if you guys pay attention to stuff like this, by building a realistic plan that accounts for real life, you can control and create the tools that serves you, not a cage that restricts you, right? Because if you know what you're about to get yourself into in the upcoming 12 months, and you start preparing for that right now, you're ready for it when it's about to go down, as opposed to reacting to the fact that your car won't start no more. And now you've got to find the money to cover the car repairs. See what I'm saying? Phase two is going to be the stability layer. Once you have your map and your plan, it's going to be time to build your fortress. And this phase is all about creating the surplus and the safety net that you need to withstand financial shocks without crumbling. Now, notice Michael said rule number 1 was pay yourself first. I've got rule number 3 is pay yourself first, the automatic savings rule. This is going to be one of the most powerful wealth building concepts on the planet. And it's startling how simple it is. You must treat savings and investing as your single most important bill. It is the first bill that you pay every time that you pay it. But you have to be clear about how much you can afford to pay. You want to pay yourself before you pay for Netflix, pay yourself before the grocery store, pay yourself before anyone else, but you want to pay yourself before you pay for bullshit, but you do not want to overpay yourself where you don't have enough money to pay for everything else that you need. You don't give a shit about the stuff that you want. You want to make sure that you pay yourself before you get your wants, but you want to make sure that there's enough money available to get what you need. The key to automation: set up automatic transfers. The day your paycheck hits, set amounts, maybe 10%, 15%, or 20%. That's automatically moved to a separate savings or investment account. See, I got automatic monthly savings, and I compulsively invest on top of it. And that's one of the reasons why you set up the automation, because the automation is the least amount of money that you're willing to give to this situation. And then anything above that you realize that you don't need to waste, that you can invest, that you can double down on it. So if you're putting $100 a month base in there, and then you find out that you have an extra $100, or if you're doing $100 a week in your investments where you're doing a minimum of $400 a month, regardless of what's going on with your money, then you find you got an extra $50 to $100 every week or every other week. You now putting down $600 a month instead of $400 a month because you have extra money to spend, because you decided not to waste that money on things that you didn't need. That is capitalizing on the shift in your decision making and your mindset, which is a fantastic plan to have. I told you guys, Steven is on his way. He's going to be one of those multimillionaires. When this show is 10 and 15, 20 years down the line, he's going to be one of those multimillionaires. It's like, yo, when I was young, I started coming to this podcast He might be one of those guys that fly out to the show and does an in person with us, talk about what he's doing with his billions right now. Because over time, this is how you build wealth. A $50,000 a year lifestyle or $50,000 a year income can put $20,000 a year away, live off of $30,000 a year, and be able to have 350 to $400,000 in 10 years. Where in 20 years you would have upward of $1.2 million. But when you start thinking about putting $20,000 away out of the year, you start talking about putting away like $1,000 to $1,500 a month, $1,500 to $1,800 a month. You start putting away to get to $20,000. At some people, that's half of their fucking paycheck or half of their monthly salary. For other people, it's a third. But when you think about it like that, when you think about it like that, and then you think about if you got into a relationship with a career woman that's got her own shit, if her cost in your life is covered by her money, then you should still be able to put your 20 grand away, and she should be able to put her 20 grand away. And if your 20 grand a year is going in one direction, and her 20 grand a year is going in another direction, in 10 years of that relationship, y'all should have $1 million. Whether y'all spend it on y'all selves or each other, it depends on y'all's relationship. But if y'all stayed together for 10 years, y'all would have $1 million. Because if you're living off of a $30,000 a year lifestyle and a woman adding to that would only add 50% of expenses, it would bring you up to a $45,000 a year lifestyle, $50,000 a year lifestyle, hair, nails, makeup, all this other shit, right? And between the two of y'all, if you got a $50,000 a year income and she's got a $50,000 a year income, and y'all both put $25,000 towards it, because women say 50-50. You got 25,000 a year that's not going towards your standard of living. She's got $25,000 a year that's not going towards standard of living. You're probably going to spend $5,000 a year on buying her nice things and making her feel sweet. That still gives you 20,000 a year to put towards your retirement, right? Now, funny thing is that she's not going to do shit for you. She's got $25,000 a year that she could put towards her retirement. Y'all still going to be in a situation where y'all in 10 years of dating, y'all millionaires. And if you're putting it in high interest brokerage accounts, you be getting back $150,000 a year off of staying together for 10 years. Where both of y'all could quit because y'all would be making $50,000 a year off of your brokerage account, more than your combined income, just to stay together for 10 years. And in that dynamic, you can up your lifestyle from a $50,000 joint lifestyle to a $75,000 joint lifestyle, elevating yourself from a lower class to middle class, lower middle class, but still middle class, and still having 70 something $1,000 a year that you can put half of it back into the brokerage account and the other half of it on traveling to go and enjoying life and everything to that effect. It is that simple but complex at the same time, because each decision that we make is partially one of the reasons why we fail, because our decisions cost us money. And it's usually, I'm going to buy this, I need this, I want this, I'm going to buy that, I need this, I want that, I'm going to buy this for her for whatever reason, whether it's to make her smile or make up for pissing her off. But it's always, I'm about to spend money. We very rarely make a decision, I'm not going to buy that, I'm not going to pay for that, I'm not going to get this, I don't need that. And why is this information so critical? Because it's going to bypass your greatest enemy, which is your own willpower. Automating everything, there's no debate, no decision fatigue. The system is going to do it for you. Your wealth quietly builds in the background without you even thinking about it. The money you don't see is the money you don't spend. And you're going to check your bank account to see what money you have to spend. Even if you're watching your brokerage account every day, you're not expecting your brokerage account to pay for shit. Because what do you got to do? You got to sell stocks. You got to wait 2 days for it to clear. It's going to be 2 business days, not on a weekend. Then you got to wait 3 to 5 days for it to deposit into your account. The whole process might take 24 hours to sell the stock, 2 more days for it to clear at best. 1 day with Stash App, but 2 more days with other accounts, which is 3 days of wait time. Then it might be 3 to 5 days for you to get it into your bank account, which might be a whole week. If I want money out of my account today, if I'm using Stash App, the fastest I can get it into my account is Tuesday because today's Thursday. If I set up a sale tonight, it'll sell tomorrow, Friday, clear Monday. I'd be able to get it deposited into my account probably Tuesday, Wednesday. So if I wanted to impulse buy right now, I can look at my brokerage account. That money's not going to pay for that, right? But if I look at my check account, oh yeah, if I got money in there, I could thumbprint and unlock something and auto pay for some shit, and boom, it's done. Apple Pay, Google Pay, Samsung Pay. You can. Some people got the Retina display where you just look at your phone and you start spending money. Some people got Alexa in their house. Hey Alexa, buy bullshit, and Alexa will buy bullshit for you, legitimately and figuratively. Right? Fuck around and have 40 pounds of cow manure coming from Walmart. Just depends, right? So being able to move your money outside of your accessibility is going to be how you're going to guarantee your progress. You say, hey, Alexa, order a chicken wing. I don't have an Alexa at my house. I do not have automation. I wanted a smart house 10 years ago. And then when I realized that the convenience of a smart house comes at the cost of no privacy, I decided against it. I would prefer to have to manually open shit and manually go and get shit so that I don't have to worry about being monitored. I do not have the voice activated control set up on any of my phones because I don't want my phone monitoring my voice. Doesn't mean that it's not, but it's not encouraged to because those features are turned off. So instead of my phone tracking what I'm saying because I asked it to, if it's tracking what I'm saying, that's its standard protocols. I didn't even update the new terms and conditions policies. I deny them every time they pop up just to prevent them from having the authority to do new shit to my phone that I didn't agree to. You know, but I'm gonna be honest with you. Instead of ordering chicken wings, I would have ordered 2 packs of chicken legs and a pack of boneless chicken breasts and some vegetable oil, put it in my crock pot, and just deep fry the shit myself. Matter of fact, you can go one step further since you're ordering from Walmart.com anyway. You can get the marinade 4 wings and then get a bunch of that and put it into a big ass bowl and shake that shit up. Get you a big gigantic like 2 gallon salad bowl and put all that chicken in there and then put like 5 packs of marinade in there. Shake that shit up like Wingstop, shake that shit up, and then put it in the fridge. And whenever you feel like making you some damn chicken, you just take like 5 or 10 wings, throw it into the crock pot, deep fry that shit. Yes, into a fucking crock pot. That's exactly how you would do. Deep fry that shit, and you're good to go. You're good to go. And when you pull that, now you've got your own wings. You can make yourself at the house, and it'll be cheaper and more filling. I'm trying to told you. I'm trying to get full. Look, if I'm gonna spend money on some shit, I'm gonna try to get satisfied from it. So I'm not gonna spend money on little bitty ass cutlets. I'm gonna buy the big ass chicken legs. I'm gonna get them Fred Flintstone size chicken legs because I want to get full off of it. If I was gonna get drunk, I would go get some Seagram's gin and some orange juice. That's it. Some Seagram's gin and some orange juice. Why? Because that is the strongest alcohol on the market next to Everclear, and it is guaranteedly gonna get you twisted. You do, and that's a $20 bottle of shit instead of the $200 bottle of Patron. I don't need to go and buy a $400 bottle of Johnny Walker. I can just buy me some distilled Seagram's gin or the regular Seagram's gin and a bottle of some orange juice. It could be the regular Walmart brand orange juice with the calcium in it, so I can get me some vitamin D and put that into my screwdriver, and that's it. Couple cubes of ice from the refrigerator, and that's it. Talk about double shot, half a glass, 3/4 of a glass of liquor, a quarter of a glass of orange juice, 4 cubes of ice. Do that twice. I'm done for the day. And that would have been $20 for the bottle, $5 for the juice. It's $25 total, and I'm good. I saved $75. Got as fucked up as I would like to get fucked up because I'm paying for a purpose. I'm not paying for prestige. Michael says, I play games with money to save it. I look for star notes, bookends, birthday notes, and then I place the plastic sleeves in a book. Man, you be high shit all over the house. Like, where's Waldo? You trying to, like, where did I put my fucking food stamp money? Steven says, the only meat I'll buy from Walmart is ground turkey. That is not Walmart brand. Look, I don't care what. Look, man, look, y'all can be picky, and I'm not gonna knock you for doing it. Y'all can be picky, but I'm gonna tell you that whatever they cut up at the grocery store, whether you get it from the Walmart or you get it from the meat market, the freshness is gonna be about as much as the damn truck it was on. So you can get your chicken from Walmart. You can get it from Sam's Club, DJ's, or your local meat market. But what you do is you go buy big ass whole turkey or chicken legs. You don't waste your time on the Tyson's cutlets. That's what I'm trying to tell you. You don't waste your time on Tyson because that is a waste of money. You're going to get like 75 to 100 little pieces of meat in a bag full of bones when you could have spent that same quantity of money on big ass slabs of boneless meat, same chickens, bigger, and you could have really you'd been full of 2 pieces of chicken instead of 10 or 20. That's my point. My point is that I'm not paying for I'm not because the little baby wings that you're getting is an image for yourself to say I'm eating chicken wings. But the chicken wing was a fucking chicken wing. So if I'm gonna eat a fucking chicken wing, I want to eat a whole chicken. I want to eat the adult chicken. I don't want to eat the baby chickens. I don't want to eat the teenage chickens. I want to eat the adult chickens. I want to eat the old fat bastard that been on the roost for the last 6 years. I want to eat that guy. I don't want to eat the one that just got out 6 months ago. Let them live a little bit longer. Exactly, Michael. Meat is fucking meat. I will eat that shit. I don't care who's selling it. I don't care who's selling. I don't care if it's Walmart brand. I don't care who it is. You know what I mean? Because to me, I'm just trying. I'm trying to get, but I'm not gonna waste my time on a small ass piece of meat with like there's more bone than meat. I'm not trying to waste my time on that. Like for example, you go get some Tyson and this be the bone, and then you got a little bit of meat wrapped around it, and then you got to eat like 30 of these. Nah, fuck that shit. I want something that's this fucking big ass piece of meat wrapped around it where I got, you know what I mean? He said, we got a grocery store in the city I moved to that has awesome fresh meat that is cheaper and higher quality. Well, then go there. But by all means, if you find something better quality than Walmart, I am not going to tell you that Walmart is the best place to shop. I say that Walmart delivered to my house. So if the Walmart's delivering to my house, the convenience of getting it delivered to my house, I'm gonna order whatever the fuck is in the store. So, but if instead of me buying Tyson chicken from Walmart's frozen food section, I'm gonna buy some real chicken from Walmart's poultry section. That's what I'm saying. I'm not telling you that you're doing it wrong, Steven. I'm just telling you that if I'm gonna drive to a store, yeah, go to a meat market. But if Walmart's gonna deliver it to my house, I'm not gonna order Tyson's chicken wings. I'm gonna order real chicken from the poultry section. That's what I'm saying. That way, I'm getting more meat for my dollar. That's what I'm saying. Because if you want fresh meat, buy local from the meat markets. Yeah, that's true. I used to raise 3-legged chickens, and I'd be cutting them bad boys down. You got to catch them, but that's what dogs are for. Now, rule number 4, and this one is going to be a big one. You want to live below your means. The lifestyle discipline rule is going to be the hardest thing that changes the bottom 50% of America from being broke to being wealthy, or vice versa. because every single financial strategy is going to depend on one simple reality. You must spend less money than you earn. It's the only way it's going to work. You need a surplus. If your outgoings equal or exceed your incomings, you are either stuck or sinking. Like Michael was saying earlier, debt to income or debt to credit. This requires the discipline to know the difference between the needs that you must get and the wants that you just hope to have. Needs are going to be your core survival expenses, and that is supposed to be what I told you guys before, part of your 30% of the 50% that you must pay for. And that's going to be stuff like shelter, food, essentials like transportation, utilities, stuff to that effect. Wants are everything else, shit that you can do without. If you don't have a surplus, you have two options. You're either going to have to make more money or spend less on the shit that you want, which was the conversation that we had with Sterling for like 9 hours, two times out of a week. He says, I go catch stealing a calendar. Oh, I got catch stealing a in calendar. They gave me 12 months. Oh, okay. So you got caught stealing a calendar and they gave you 12 months. Well, I bought a calendar for 15 months and then they gave me a calendar that starts in January for free. And I was looking at them like, y'all, mama, y'all should have sent me this damn calendar. But this starts in January, so it doesn't help me with July through December. So I was like, well, it's a pretty calendar. I ain't paid for it though. I ain't paid for it though. Now, the most dangerous threat to living below your means is going to be lifestyle creep. So this is going to be when you get a raise and immediately upgrade your lifestyle. Bigger apartment, fancier car, nicer restaurant. Suddenly you're making $20,000 more a year, but you're just as broke as you was before. Special shout out to FX Trader. He says, when the government prints an extra $20 trillion, any meat will be good to eat. Bro, it don't matter. See now, I like the way you think, but I think that it's ridiculous in a way because yes, it doesn't matter what meat you eat, and meat is good as long as you're eating it. But the problem that we have is that the quantity of money the United States government prints has nothing to do with the digital currency that gets direct deposited into our paychecks. They're not mailing us paper money every day. Most of us, probably 70% or 80% of our transactions are debit card and credit card transactions. Bluetooth with our cell phone where we're paying online, we're swiping with our card, we're tapping with our electronic device. We very rarely have cash on our person and we very rarely spend cash. There, Waffle House used to be a cash only operation. They have credit card machines. The wildest thing right now, the only place that is mandatorily cash only is the strip club. Like the only thing. Everywhere else, you can put your credit card down. You can put your credit or debit card down. Bars, clubs, nightclubs, dance halls, everything, credit cards. Hotels, cruise ships, vacations, credit cards. Airlines, airplane food, credit cards. You don't need cash for anything right now. So when they're printing $20 trillion of money, we're not going to be impacted by none of that shit. He says, I mean digital printing. Yeah, but it doesn't matter if it's digital printing. It doesn't matter if it's really printing. It doesn't matter like the dynamic is that ultimately we're we the bottom 50% of America are not going to experience the $20 trillion because if they're printing it and sending it overseas, or if they're printing it and giving it to big businesses, or if they're printing it and sending it to banks, those of us who don't go to the bank and withdraw cash money, we're not experiencing that. Matter of fact, real quick, while we're talking about them printing $20 trillion, anybody on the channel right now got a dollar that has Donald Trump's signature on it? Anybody? They're printing them right now. Does anybody have a United States bill of any kind, any denomination that has Donald Trump's signature on it. More than likely, none of y'all got it. Why? Because it doesn't impact us. Steven says, I think he's talking about calendar his daughter. No, he was talking about he went and stole it was a joke. He stole a calendar and then he got arrested and served 12 months. So he got caught stealing a calendar and then he went to jail for 12 months. That's why that's the inside joke there. I stole a calendar and I got 12 months. He says, if we're stealing oil, let's get the meat too. Wait, what meat do they have in Iran? And do you really want to wait 3 months for it to get here? Because that's where they're stealing oil from. Didn't he say 22 ships of oil, hundreds of billions of barrels? Gas is going to be real cheap real soon. That's not what we're seeing, though. Now, the key to building wealth is as your income rises, you want to keep your lifestyle the same as it was for a while, not forever. And you want to use the new income to widen the surplus before you start expanding. Don't just get uh, a bigger bucket with more holes in it. You want to build a reservoir that will sustain you for life first, and then you want to go and start expanding on things. Notice when I give you guys that futuristic, he said, "Okay, let's go get the camels," but you got to get them alive though, because if you get them and they're not alive, they're not going to survive. They're not going to be edible when we get them here. I don't mind eating camel meat. That hump in the back might taste like a ribeye. But when you're avoiding lifestyle creep, that's why I tell you guys like, hey, if you live and put away 20% of your income and then you're dating somebody and y'all combine y'all's income together and she's putting away 20, 25% of her income and y'all are able to build a lifestyle where y'all are like $1 million in 10 years. And then after you've gone from working to make $100,000 a year together to generating $150,000 a year from your brokerage account after you've made that level of success, then you can quit your jobs and upgrade your lifestyle to $75,000 a year, which is 50% of the money that comes from your brokerage account. And that gives you the ability to cover any taxation necessary, reinvest back into the brokerage account, and still have $10,000 or $20,000 a year to travel and enjoy your life with on top of the $75,000 base standard of living, right? The lifestyle creep came after financial success, not during the financial increase. Because if you start making $10,000 a year on your brokerage account, then you start spending $10,000 a year more, your brokerage account is not going to be able to grow because you're going to use the extra money from your brokerage account to sustain your standard of living, not boost your portfolio. Right. So lifestyle creep in the immediate is not beneficial for you. And a lot of the times, even if you're trying to fix the minor inconveniences of life, you have to delay certain unnecessary repairs. You have to delay certain unnecessary inconveniences and just deal with the inconvenience. You might have a door handle broke on your car. Let that shit stay broke as long as you can get in and out of your car. You don't got to fix that shit right now. These are the things where the convenience of fixing the minor cosmetic flaws is more costly than just letting it ride for a little bit and then dealing with it later when you have a larger surplus. Is that do you think that you can run all of your financial affairs from your brokerage account? If you put enough money in your brokerage account, yes. So, in order for you to run all of your financial affairs from your brokerage account, first things first, you would have to have 100% dividend paying brokerage account in order for you to do this with a lower overall budget in your brokerage account, a lower principal. If you're using growth accounts, which is possible, the growth accounts require to have a larger quantity of money there because if you're living off of the dividends, you're going to need more dividends. Now, let's think about your standard living. What's say $5,000 a month? That's what 60,000 a year. Okay. Now, $60,000 a year income, 10% return on investment is going to be like $600,000. If you were following my methods where you were doing like 15% return on investment, which is going to be higher taxation, you're probably going to need closer to 500,000. Right? Because you get 15,000 for every $100,000 that you get. So 60,000 would be like 400,000. But when you include taxation, you might want to need like 450 to 500,000 so that after taxes you still got $60,000, right? So thinking about that, if your car note and everything like that, these things are getting paid different times out of the month. In order for you to cover all of your financial affairs from your brokerage account, you would need to be 2 or 3 month advance pay on most of your shit. Why? Because your brokerage account has to release the money on the ex dividend date. The money's going to take a day or two to clear, not on the weekend, not on a holiday. And then you have to deposit the money into your account, which could take 1 to 3 business days. So, for example, if we have an ex dividend date that is tomorrow, it's going to clear on Monday. If we drop it as soon as it clears, we would likely be able to have accessibility to that money by Wednesday. If we have bills to pay on the first of the month, what's today? Today is the 24th. So, what is Wednesday? The 30th or the 31st? We would be able to pay the rent for next month. But what if Monday was a holiday? Now we're not able to get the money until Thursday or Friday. Now we might not have the money until the first or the second. If the bill was due on the first, we might not have enough money for it. So if we have August paid for in July, and now we're getting money out of our brokerage account in July to pay for September's bills, then yes, you can run your entire financial affairs from your brokerage account. And if, let's say, instead of you having $60,000 coming in from your brokerage account, let's say that off of that $600,000 scenario where you were still making 15% return on investment, you had an extra $30,000 off of it, where you would have been making like $90,000. And they took like 10,000 or $15,000 in taxes, which left you with like $75,000. Where you have an extra $15,000. Your lifestyle is still $60,000. You have $15,000 left over for unexpected bullshit. You should be able to cover most things. I mean, you're only going to have to rebuild your transmission once, unless you have a Jaguar. You're only going to have to rebuild your headers on your car once, unless you have a Benz or a BMW, you know. So or a Tesla, you know, then you might have to do it quite often. But if you would you have to replace the battery like quickly the more you use it. So you know, outside of that, you don't have unexpected expenses that can't wait. Right? Car repair is an unexpected expense if you don't have preventative maintenance going on. But truth be told, yeah, you could live your entire life off of a brokerage account once you have established enough principal to pay for that lifestyle. Now, can you build generational wealth through your brokerage account while paying for your day-to-day operations? No, because you're spending more money than you're saving. But if you're saving the money first and then transitioning from you paying for shit to your brokerage account paying for shit, typically, notice when I give you these examples, you are making like $50,000 a year. You build up to where your brokerage account is paying you 3 times more than what you're earning. Then you quit your job and live off of your brokerage account. Notice you're making 3 times more from your brokerage account than your current job. Of course you can cover, because if you can cover all of your affairs on your $50,000 a year income and you have a $150,000 a year brokerage account that's paying you, yeah, you can cover it from the brokerage account because you're making more money off the brokerage account than you spend off of your daily paycheck. Uh, Michael says the more money that you put away now, the earlier you can retire, or as I say, guaranteed for life. That's true. Diversity, diversify your money. Stocks, lands, precious metals, rentals, and antiquities. I agree with you to a degree. I agree with stocks, lands. I agree with rental properties because that's going to generate you liquidatable assets. That's going to give you a revolving capital. When you start touching on precious metals, you must have a surplus that covers your standard of living and some. And when you start talking about antiquities, antiquities are a good way to preserve your capital only when the value of those antiquities exceeds the quantity of capital that you're spending. Some people will have expensive stuff And on paper, these people are worth net worth a lot of money because they have this stuff like a Fabergé egg, a Mona Lisa, Picasso, or some shit like that, right? Long as you own that, you could potentially leverage it as capital, leverage it towards a capital gain that you're going to use, or leverage it towards a cash loan that you're going to use. But when you start talking about liquidatable assets, until you sell that picture frame, it serves no purpose. If it gets caught in a fire, it serves no purpose. And if you're paying insurance on it, so that if it does get caught in a fire, it is losing monetary value month over month, year over year for the whole time that you're paying insurance on it. So even if it's $1 million painting, if you paid $500,000 for it and you're paying $50,000 a year to insure it, after 10 years, you have spent $500,000 on the insurance. So the $500,000 you paid for it and the $500,000 you paid to protect it is the $1 million policy that is going to pay you to reimburse you, which is a net zero. So when it comes down to antiquities, I mean, that is going to be for the, I'm not going to say ultra rich, but it is going to be for the more financially wealthy, like the bottom half of wealth, like the first million, first 2 million, because you got to understand, we're dealing with inflation that is growing at an astronomical rate. And if you're living off of a percentage of your overall portfolio, typically 10% it makes sense. But if you're living off your overall portfolio, with $2 million on 10%, you're getting $200,000 a year. And if you're living a $100,000 a year lifestyle, you're probably living in California or New York or probably somewhere near South Beach, Florida, right? Now, with that understanding, you don't have the money for certain antiquities, not without spending your principal. Now, you're a 10 or $15 million person, of course you got some money for some antiquities. But when you're the first 5 million, you real estate with owning lands, real estate with rental properties, leveraging real estate to get more rental properties. That's what you're probably doing with the first $2 to $5 million that you got. Precious metals is good to have as ETFs. It's good to have some in, like, billiards in a safe in your house. But for the most part, precious metals again are going to be an unhealthy level of volatility that, and it's not really volatility based on purchase price, it's going to be volatility based on holding the actual item without insurance, risking getting robbed for that item. Because as soon as somebody knows that you got a safe full of gold in your house, they're going to become fucking pirates. They're going to be the next buccaneer to come and try to raid your booty and run off with all your assets. So, in the digital era, precious metals is good to have as an ETF on your portfolio. But precious metals in your pocket, not so much. Antiquities are good to have um, as an ETF on your portfolio, but actually in your house, not so much. He says, I hold some antiquities, but most are sold for high profits. At least that's what I find. Well, the thing is, though, you go to estate sales, you buy stuff that nobody else values. You know how to find those antiquities undervalued, and then you're able to sell them at a higher price. So, because that's what you're doing, you have a scavenger mentality where you're going places and finding value in things that the people around you don't have value in, and then you relocate it to somebody who has value in it, and then you do a peer-to-peer sale to turn off a profit. So in that business, antiquities are good. So I'm not saying that antiquities is a bad thing, and I'm not saying that gold is a bad thing. I'm saying that for the average Gen Zer, the average Gen Xer that is just getting into building their wealth, excuse me, step one is building revolving capital. Step two is to build a second level of revolving capital, which might be rental properties. So first, you might want to get your portfolios up. If you want to go into real estate and do real estate first and then do portfolio, one of those two are going to be generating you revenue. Then you want to hold lands where you can leverage lands so that you can get more land, so that you can build houses on land, so that you can get more rental properties, right? Now, after a certain number of rental properties, after a certain level of portfolio, after you have established a level of financial success, then you go get the gold and then you go get the antiquities because you've already got too much, or not too much, but enough assets paying your standard of living that you don't need to acquire more assets to pay for your standard of living. Now you might want to buy antiquities and buy precious metals so that you could take your paper money off the books. That's when wealthy people start buying expensive shit because they'll buy a $500,000 vase so that they don't have $500,000 sitting in the bank. They have a $500,000 vase that might be in a glass jar with a padlock on it, and they can show a picture to a broker and say, "Hey, give me $200,000. I got this vase in my house. Give me $200,000 so I can go do X, Y, and Z." And that makes sense because the IRS is not looking at the shit in your house. The IRS is looking at the shit in your bank account. So instead of having a $500,000 sitting at Bank of America, you have $500,000 portrait on your wall. But that happens when you have 10, 15, $20 million in the bank. That's what I'm saying. He said money is a bad thing if you're not putting it to use. You're right. And that mentality alone is going to be why antiquities and holding on to physical precious metals is not going to be beneficial to you when you're comparing it to the opportunity cost of making money make money for you. It's a byproduct that's like the icing on the cake. It's the sprinkles on top of the icing on the cake. But when you buy a physical item that has a monetary value, that physical item is not generating revenue for you. And that's when it is a bad idea. And same thing with precious metals. Yeah, the value of precious metals grows over time, but $200 an ounce turned to $4,500 an ounce over 50 years. Okay, that's not the same as Stephen getting into a 15% return on investment brokerage account where he can stack that shit right now. Where some of the REITs that I showed him are right now at 25% return on investment. You can't beat that opportunity cost. 4%, not even 4%. You went up what 400% over 50 years. Or no, well, no, 4,000% over 50 years because it went from 200 to 4,000. So it's almost like 2,000% increase over 50 years. Or if Steven keeps going the way he's going to be seeing a 25% increase every year. Where over 10 years, that'd be 2,500%, which is faster than gold's 50-year progress. And they're both taxed regularly because gold is not a post-tax scenario. So gold and REITs are going to be taxed regularly. That's why I said that antiquities is not a good idea for the up and comer. The one that's already established, that's fantastic. Precious metals for the one that's already established, that's fantastic. But for the up and comer, you want to do rental properties, you want to do land, you want to do stocks. That's what you want to do. And it might be easier for you to do stocks first until you get enough money to do rental properties. And after you do rental properties, then you want to go and do land. Oh, that's terrible numbers. 6.17% over 50 years. Fuck that. Do you see the failure of the opportunity cost on that? 6.17% over 50 years on gold. When I'm telling you that the REITs right now are doing 22 to 25% year over year. So over 50 years, my man would have probably had 25,000% increase over 50 years. Over 10 years, he would have had like 2,500% increase on these REITs right now. That's poor performance. That's why I'm telling you, diving into precious metals is what the wealthy will do because they got enough money coming in already. That's like the last phase of financial wealth. The last phase of financial wealth will be gold, silver, platinum, uranium, and antiquities. The first phase of building the wealth is getting a second income coming in, which is going to either be rental properties or a brokerage account. A brokerage account is easier to establish for somebody who doesn't know real estate than it would be for somebody who's trying to get into real estate. But from your brokerage account, you can invest in real estate. If you have enough money to get into real estate, you can use the profits from real estate to do a brokerage account, but you can do a brokerage account with little or no knowledge of real estate. Here we go. Warren Buffett preferred stocks to real estate. And that's why he lived in the same house all his life. That's my point. Because think about this, you can buy a house, you can have a rental property. That's a physical asset and a capital gain. Or that same $200,000 for that rental property, you put that $200,000 into a real estate investment trust. They're going to do all the work for you. You're going to get a percentage from it. The difference is, while you're going to make somewhat of the same amount of money or less, that well, technically it depends on it depends on how much you put down versus how much you're getting out. But the average real estate investor on a fix and flip usually gets about $10,000 to $20,000 per sale. Pretty much. Doesn't matter how much the house is worth or how much it's sold for. The average profit is usually $10,000 to $20,000 per sale. So, in order for somebody to really have $100,000 a year lifestyle, they would have to typically sell about 5 houses a year on a fix and flip scenario, and have the stress of finding a new house, have the stress of rehabbing the house, have the stress of trying to sell it before it costs more than they make. They might have to sell 6 houses a year to make that $100,000 because they might take a loss on one of their houses, right, to fix and flip. Now, to get that same $100,000 a year, if you put a $100,000 or well, what are they using? Like $250,000, $500,000 for one house, right? You got that in a brokerage account. I mean, 20% return on investment. If you got $500,000 in a brokerage account, you got $100,000 for investing in real estate investment trust. So, do you need 500 grand to buy one house and try to flip revolving capital, or do you just need 500 grand in a brokerage account? Warren Buffett is right. It's less stress. You don't have to deal with the red tape. You don't have to deal with rental properties, repairs, foreclosures, evictions. You don't have to deal with none of that stuff. You just put your money into the stock market, walk away from that shit. Berkshire Hathaway Company. Isn't that one of the ones that we got on our stocks? Hold on, let me go. It's up here. Boom. Berkshires. First Community Berkshires. We got some. We got some of those up there. He says holding houses is well today, as long with along with Coke. Yeah, Coca-Cola is good. Pepsi, Johnson and Johnson is good. Shell, Chevron, Exxon Mobil is good. You know, there's a lot of companies. He said 40% of the company. Yeah. So buying and holding on a real estate investment trust is a good way to put your money in places where your money is making money for you without you having to go through the stress of establishing the overhead. Because, for example, you have to get a certain number of houses before you have enough money coming in for you to pay a management company to come and do the shit for you, and you still get a profit. Then you have to continue to handle taxation on shit. You've got to work on expansion until there's enough real estate coming in for you to um, um, turn over a massive property to retire on. Now, yes, you can borrow against a stone, set up every rental property, pay yourself out of the loans, this, that, and the third, and you can make yourself real big, real fast. But it just really requires you got to know what you're doing. He says, I keep forgetting to put $5 on McDonald's. I think I'll do that today. What McDonald's got? I don't know nothing about McDonald's. I didn't look into McDonald's. He said, $1,000, please. I don't know anything about McDonald's. What you know about McDonald's? McDonald's is a thriving company right now. McDonald's and Burger King. If you're putting money on McDonald's, you might as well put money on Burger King because they compete with one another. When one is up, the other one will be down. Just note. Now, let's get on to rule number 5. You want to build that emergency fund, which is the risk buffer, because if you don't have an emergency fund and money gets tight, you're going to have one or two scenarios come about. You will either have to do without or destroy your portfolio to figure it out. Now, this is going to be the foundation of the financial security. Your emergency fund is a cash reserve that protects you from the life's dragons that kills everything that you got going on. If you got a job loss, a medical bill, urgent home repair, this fund is going to be what breaks the cycle of going into high interest credit card debt every time something unexpected happens. It's what turns a catastrophic situation into a mere inconvenience. How big should it be? The standard people advise is going to be 3 to 6 months worth of essential living expenses. I typically tell you when it comes to this to put 3 to 6 months worth of money advanced on some of your regular revolving bills. Your light bill, water bill, gas bill, car insurance, you should be able to pay it for 6 months in advance, which means overpaying the bill. Those are flat rate fixed expenses, not the mortgage, the rent. The mortgage, you want to pay what they ask, or if you're going to overpay it by a set amount, you want to overpay it by a set amount. But your mortgage is going to expect you to pay every month no matter what. But your rent, if you paid 6 months in advance, they don't expect you to give them any more money for 6 months. Pay attention to that. That's not the same as your car note. You cannot overpay your car note and then skip a month's payment. If you overpay your car note, you just owe less at the end. But if you own your own car and you want to delay car repair, you could, right? So lights, water, gas, car insurance, phone bill, cable bill, internet bill, these are revolving bills that are fixed rate bills that are, if you overpay it, they're not going to charge you any money next month. So if you put 6 months towards these things, they're not going to expect any money from you for 6 months. You can keep paying them in advance, keeping that 6 month level ahead. And then if some shit happens and you ain't got it this month, you don't got to pay them. That is the ability to have the freedom to delay shit that you wasn't having to expect to pay for because of other shit that came up. He said, just for comedic value and stalking points. You want to you want to have some McDonald's on your portfolio just for comedic. So you're gonna be showing people, look, man, I got some McDonald's. My McDonald's shares is paying for my Happy Meal today. Oh Lord, oh Lord. Now you got to remember when you're dealing with your emergency fund, this is not going to be your full income, but the bare bones amount for your housing, food, utilities, and transportation. So if you have a stable job, 3 months might be fine. If you're a freelancer or a sole provider, you want to aim for 6 months, 12 months, 18 months, something like that. Because when money stops coming in for an extended period of time, you have to make that money back. Take, for example, teachers on salary. They stop working in May. They don't come back to work until August. Whatever money they got coming in, that's what they got to spend. So if they're getting paid big bucks between August and May, that means that they've got to have June, July, and the upcoming August paid for, so that when they go back to work in August and they start getting their paychecks in September, that their bills are still paid for over the summer. Where do you keep this money? Absolutely not in your checking account. It needs to be somewhere separate. Best place for you to have immediate access to it and still be able to generate a little bit of revenue from it until you need it is going to be a high yield savings account. This keeps the money liquid. It also keeps it safe in case something happens to your house. And it's going to earn just a little bit of interest. And it's going to make sure that you're doing it with a bank that's FDIC insured. So if the bank gets robbed, your money's still there, and that's going to protect you up to $250,000 worth of deposits. Now, you want to be strict here. This account is going to be for true emergencies only. So a surprise concert isn't an emergency. A sorority party isn't an emergency. She's pregnant isn't an emergency. I just want y'all to understand that shit can wait 9 months. A sale on a new TV, not an emergency. GTA 6 released this month, not an emergency. The new PS6 coming out in November, it doesn't, but if it were, not an emergency. And if you use it, your number one priority for this particular money is to replenish that fund as quickly as possible. So, real quick, because we're about halfway through this shit. If this is already clicking for you guys, but you're worried about keeping it all straight, make sure that you pay attention. I got you covered. I put it all together, and I've got a PDF file in the membership that's got the whole checklist there for you. It should have already released into the membership. So you can use that to do your own financial inventories tonight if you wanted to, at no additional cost beyond the membership. So if you're not in the membership, you got to get in there. But if you're already in the membership, you've already got access to it. You can grab it and click that link at your discretion, and then it'll get you the right way into putting what you're learning into immediate actions. Now, let's get into the next phase of optimization, which is phase 3, because I do believe I told you guys there was like 4 phases where we're getting into. Optimization layers is going to be building your progress. With your stability layer in place, you now have a surplus and a safety net. You're no longer in crisis mode. Now it's time to go on the offensive and make real progress. Now, rule 6, treat debt like a project. The systemic elimination rule. High interest debt is going to be a cancer on your financial health. It's a mathematical anchor actively working against you. So we need to cut it out. And to do that, you need to stop thinking of debt as a moral failing and start treating it like a project. A problem with a defined scope and a clear end date. That's what you need to do. So here's going to be your project. First, go back to rule number 1. Map out all your debts, balances, APRs, minimum payments. That's going to be your project scope. Next, you want to choose your methodology. There are going to be 2 popular ones. The avalanche method, which is going to be where you throw every dollar extra that you have at the debt with the highest interest rate. And this is going to be the money that you're throwing at your debt payments, not the money that you put into your brokerage account. Mathematically, this is going to be the fastest way to get you out of debt and save the most money. The second way is going to be the snowball method. With the snowball method, you throw all of your extra money at the debt with the smallest balance. Once it's gone, you take that entire payment and roll it into the next smallest debt. This method might cost a bit more in interest over time, but the psychological win from knocking out a small debt can be a powerful motivator. Also, when you're paying off the credit card before the billing cycle is due, you can start revolving credit instead of sitting on it. Where if you had a $500 credit card, you paid it off, the billing cycle rolled over, you put $450 on the card, you can take that $450 and put it on another credit card and then roll that credit card over. But this is only really effective in scenarios where your credit cards are not all due on the same day or in the same week. Because if you've got a card due on the 1st, the 5th, and the 10th, you get paid on the 1st, I mean, you're only going to be able to pay the cards on the 1st, 5th, and the 10th. But if you've got like 2 cards that are due at the beginning of the month and 2 cards due on the 3rd week of the month, and you get paid at the beginning of the month and then you get paid in the middle of the month, you can pay off one credit card, wait till the billing cycle rolls over, then charge a bunch of stuff to that credit card for essential spending, utilities, phones, this, that, and the third. And since you don't need that capital, you can put it on the other credit cards take the cash and put it on the other credit cards, pay those credit cards down. Then when those credit cards roll over, you can take it and put it on those essentials again so that you could take the money for the first of the month and pay off the other credit card, the second row of credit cards. So now your paycheck is basically just paying down credit cards. But instead of paying down credit cards and the interest, you're only paying the principal that you put on the card. That's one way to do it. And as you pay down those cards and you're not eating up all of that interest rates, you save money, and the extra money that you save, you get to pay down more debt, which allows for you to eliminate all of that outstanding income. But that only happens when you're spending less money than you're making, where you have extra money to put on those cards. Either method is going to work, but the best one is going to be the one that you're actually going to stick with. The golden rule is, though, that you must stop adding new unsecured debt while you're doing this. You can't bail water out of a boat while drilling new holes in the hull, which means that you can't keep buying extra unnecessary bullshit while you're trying to get your money right. Right? Notice when I told you the essential spending goes on the card. So if you've got $100 for the light bill, $100 for the cable bill, $100 for the phone bill, and you put that $300 on your $500 credit card after your billing cycle rolls over, if you paid $500 on that credit card, brought it down to a zero balance, you put those utility bills on that credit card. The credit card is going to hold for 3 weeks that $300, but you get to take that $300 and put it on the other credit card. That's what I said. That is having $1 pay for two bills. And then your second paycheck pays off the first credit card because your first paycheck paid off the first credit card the first time. Your second paycheck pays off the first credit card. You take the cash and put it on the second credit card. And then you start offsetting this stuff. Rule number 7, you want to match money and time. This is going to be the asset allocation rule. And this is going to be a crucial concept for managing risk and maximizing growth. Here, I thought we had 10 rules. We probably got more than that. The rule is going to be simple. The type of account that you use should match the time horizon of your goals. So you need different buckets for different timelines. Bucket 1 is going to be for immediate and short term goals, which is 0 to 2 years. And this is going to be the money for rent, your emergency funds, vacations, summers, stuff like that. This money must be safe and liquid. Places like checking accounts, high interest yield accounts, money market accounts, that's going to be where you're going to put that. You can't risk this money in the stock market if you're trying to use it right away. Bucket number 2 is going to be for medium term goals like 2 to 5 years. And this might be down payments on houses. Here you can take a little bit more risk for a little bit more growth. Things like CDs, short-term bonds, treasury bonds, stuff like that, or very conservative investment portfolios that will work for you. Pretty much all the ones that I picked out. Then you're looking at bucket number 3 is going to be for long-term goals like 5+ years, but realistically decades, 10, 20, 30 years. This is going to be your retirement money. And this money has a long time to grow and can withstand market ups and downs. The vehicles here are going to be growth-oriented assets, primarily in diversified low-cost stock markets, index funds, ETFs that are held inside tax advantage accounts like 401ks or Roth IRAs. Why does this matter so much? It stops you from making catastrophic mistakes, like having to sell a stock in a downturn to pay for a medical bill, or letting your retirement nest egg get eaten alive by inflation in a savings account. So put your money where it's supposed to be based on what you intended on using it for. Rule number 8, invest for the long term. This is going to be the wealth engine rule. This is how you build your wealth engine. This is how you go from just saving to making your money make money for you, where the goal is to build a portfolio that grows over decades, not just lingers as it currently is in its current position. He says selling the stock is never an option for me. Yeah, You have found the golden goose of stocks, and I wouldn't sell any of the stocks that you have. I have been selling some of those stocks that I've been getting off of the stock parties. I hold them for like 2 or 3 months and then I sell them. And the reason why I sell them is because the stocks that I have, the stocks that you mentioned, they're turning more of a profit for me than those stocks that they give us for free. And while they're only giving us like 10, 20 cents, 45, 50 cents on the little stock party things, that 10, 20, 30, 40 cents, 50 cents on the stock party thing could be going towards 2, 3 shares of some shit somewhere. And stack it up, and now I start making a couple of dollars a share off of some of the other stocks that I actually value. So I sell some of those stocks that I don't have value in for stocks that I do have value in, so that I can get a little bit more return on my investment and opportunity cost decision. But I agree with you. All of the stocks that I put into the membership, all the stocks that are going across the top of the screen, I would not sell them. I would hold on to them forever because like it makes no sense to get rid of them, especially right now. Now while it's the market is down, the stocks are cheap as fuck. This is the best time to buy them. Is I will sell water on the freeway before I sell stock. Gee, that sounds like a good way to make money on stock too, though. Because if you sold water on the freeway and you invested in bottled water, you might be helping yourself out a little bit. But what I'd probably do before I started selling water on the freeway is probably take out a small loan and take that loan and put it into my stock and just have the dividends pay for the loan so that I wouldn't have to pay for the loan. That's probably what I do because I'm gonna say I'm lazy, but I'm fiscally efficient about my financial decisions. I would successfully borrow cash to invest it in a way where my cash will be making cash for me, so I wouldn't have to try anymore. Now, this is going to sound very intimidating for you guys, but it doesn't have to be. Now, for most people, the best approach is stunningly simple. You want to invest consistently in diversified low cost index funds or ETFs and index funds that let you own tiny slices of the entire market, spreading out your risk so that you aren't betting on just one company. Or you can just grab the ones that I put into the membership for you guys in the membership, I have a percentage distribution so that you know exactly how to leverage it so that you can get a larger return on investment for the exact same portfolio ideas. And it'll be keeping fees low, which is also a critical. As high as fees can be, you can find that they will decimate your long-term returns. The more often you're investing in situations where fees eat up a lot of your profits. Now, you want to prioritize investing inside tax advantage accounts whenever possible, like a 401k or a Roth IRA or some kind of IRA, standardized or otherwise. And these are going to offer huge tax benefits. I recommend that you work on tax free, which is pre tax money, IRAs, because if you did that, you don't got to worry about paying the IRS after you get old. So if your employer offers any kind of 401k contribution, then you definitely want to take that and max out their contribution to its fullest. Stash App offers 3% match rate on the $7,500 that you put down. But if you're putting $7,500 down, that's when it makes sense because they'll be giving you $225 a year on your $129 a year membership, which pays for the whole fucking membership. But only if you match 100% of what they're going to give you. If you only put up $5,000, it's not going to help you as much as if you put up the whole 7,500. So when an employee or any other investment opportunity matches, that's 100% free money. It's an immediate return that you won't find anywhere else. Finally, you want to master the psychology of long-term investing because the market will be volatile the way it is right now, and it will go up and down. So these swings are just noise, not a signal to abandon your plan. Like Steven said, he's not selling for shit, right? The key to building wealth is to contribute consistently month after month and resist the urge to panic sell when the market gets scary. Now, phase four is going to be protection and maintenance layers. This is going to be a system that is only as good as its defense and its upkeep. So, this is going to be the final phase that is about protecting what you've built. Rule number 9. Look, I got all these rules and all these phases. Rule number 9, protect and organize your cash. The safety measure rule. This has two parts: protection and organization. Protection is simple: using FDIC insured banks for your cash. This protects deposits up to $250,000 per depositor per bank if the bank fails. So when you start dealing with more than $250,000 in a bank, you want to have more than one bank. Organization is behavioral. The key is using separate accounts for separate goals, sometimes called sinking funds. You have your main checking account for bills. You have your high end savings accounts for emergencies. You can uh, also have another one for car maintenance, another one for vacations, another one for holiday gifts, another one for your tax return money, another one for your social security disability benefits. By creating these digital envelopes, you prevent accidental spending. When you have $2,000 in your checking account, it is easy to justify a spontaneous purchase. But when you have to consciously move money out of your new car down payment fund to create a powerful psychological barrier, you will not move it. You're like, nah, fuck that. I don't want to take my new Bentley money and go and buy this, spinning rims for my Toyota kind of shit. You might decide, let's just leave that there, and then I'll get the Bentley first, right? And it's going to force you to confront the trade off. The privilege of getting impulse purchase now versus the benefit of waiting until you get the right thing later, right? This simple organization is going to be one of the most effective tools for staying on track. Now, rule number 10: continuously review and educate yourself. This is going to be the maintenance role. Your financial life isn't static, so your plan shouldn't be either. It isn't a set it and forget it machine. It's a dynamic system that needs regular tune ups. Establish a regular review and condense monthly or quarterly. Do a quick check in. How's your cash flow plan? Is it holding up well? Are you on track with your debt payoffs? You have situations that are outside of your control, and you might have to raise a little bit more debt. And now you got to pay it back down again. Let this be the way that you catch small problems before they become big ones. Then you want to have annuals where you do the big picture reviews. Has your income changed year over year? Have your goals changed year over year? Did you get married, have some kids, change careers? Major life events require you to realign your financial strategy with your current standard of living. And your current standard of living is your base expenses plus your preferred expenses. Alongside these reviews, you need to commit to ongoing education. The financial world is going to be noisy, so you want to stay informed on the basics: interest rates, inflation, risk management, so you can tell the difference between solid advice and the latest fad, which I cover a lot of that shit on this podcast every night of the week. So you don't need to be an expert, just an engaged and informed steward of your own future. Um, since these were the 10 rules that sound in a good theory, what does this actually look like in reality? Well, let's use a person like Alex, for example. Uh, when we first meet him, he's deep in a checking account trap. He might have a decent living with a net income of like $3,000 a month. His essential costs includes rent, utilities, insurance. They're about $1,800 a month. He also has a $5,000 in high interest credit card debt hanging over his head and exactly $0 in savings. Every month he feels like he's just getting by, right? He has no idea where the other $1,200 a month is going. Then he discovers the 10 rules that we've been talking about today. Here's how his life would transform. First, tackles rule number one and rule number two. He does his financial inventory, he tracks his spending, and is shocked to find that he's spending almost $800 a month on takeout, forgotten subscriptions, impulse buys, Seeing the numbers is going to be a wake up call. He now sees his missing $1,200 surplus. He builds his first cash flow plan, cuts his life spendings to a realistic $300 a month, allocating $200 to start an emergency fund and throwing a massive $700 to his debt. Next, he implements rule 3 and 4, where he sets up an automatic transfer. The day he gets paid, he puts $200 into his high interest savings account. He pays himself first. He practices life discipline, canceling subscriptions, cooking at home to stick to his new plan. It's tough, but seeing it work is going to be motivating. Then he's going to build stability with rule 5. That $200 a month building his emergency fund, that's small, but it's going to be the first safety net that he's ever gotten. Simultaneously, he's launching his debt project with rule 6. He's choosing the avalanche method and directs the $700 surplus to the minimum payments as his highest interest cards get paid off. 7 months, that $5,000 in debt is gone. The feeling is going to be euphoric. Now that $700 a month is freed up, and he can redirect the money to supercharge his emergency fund, or in fact overflow it into his brokerage account. Just a few months, he's got a fully funded 3 month, 6 month emergency fund, and he's going to be financially stable now. This is going to be where the magic happens because you're ready for rules 7 and 8. That same $700 a month, powerful wealth building tool can be redirected again. Open up a Roth savings account, setting up an automatic investment into a low cost diversified index fund where his wealth engine is officially on. In about a year, he went from having high interest debt, zero savings, and being debt free to having a fully funded emergency fund and an automatic investment of $700 every month, which is well over $8,400 a year for his future on a $3,000 a year income. He didn't win a lottery, he just built a system. His checking account is no longer his financial world, it is just the airport, a hub for income and outgoing funds. His money now has clear destinations, all working to build a life of stability and growth. That is going to be the power of coordinated cash flow systems. So, what we talked about today is fundamental shifts from a life of passive financial anxiety to one of active financial decisions. And I'm telling you, with a $3,000 a month income, and a $3,000 a month income is $36,000 a year. Most of us are making like $45,000 or $55,000 a year. So if I'm telling you the platform can be done by cutting out unnecessary discretionary spending and then redirecting capital with $36,000 a year, if you've got $45,000 or $55,000 a year, you could probably find $15,000 worth of stuff that you don't need to pay for, right? So managing your cash isn't about starting at a single number. It is about building a system that gives you every dollar that you have with a purpose that you can benefit from. Now, we've covered the 10 rule blueprint. You start with a diagnostic letter, knowing your reality, build stability with an emergency fund and a surplus, and you use a surplus to optimize, destroying debt, starting to invest, and you protect it all through organization and continuous learning. This is going to be your path from panic to progress. Your first step isn't to do all 10 things at one time or even a night. The goal isn't perfection. The goal is to start. So I want you guys to take one powerful first step today. And if you haven't done so already, I know Steven's on a ball with it right now. He's been doing this for like the last 3 or 4 months at least. If you haven't done so, figure it out. Try opening a high interest savings account if you haven't done so. That's one of the first steps to do. Open a brokerage account if you haven't done so. If you've joined a membership, you can get the information from the brokerage account in the membership. Not, yeah, the brokerage account, because we got Stash App. You got the information, get you $30 to start with. That's one way to get it done. You want to change the name of your bank account to emergency fund because it's not going to just say checking. It can actually say emergency fund on your bank statement so that you know what the hell you got. Then you can set up your first automatic transfer, even if it's just $20. Even if it's just drinks at the bar turns into investing in myself. That single act is going to be the first brick in the foundation of your financial stability. It's the physical act of creating a separate space for your money to have a purpose beyond just surviving until the next paycheck. Now, you're going to be more than capable of taking control of your financial life. You can move from that feeling of constant dread to a feeling of control, confidence, and momentum. This blueprint is going to be your guide, and the journey is going to start right now with that one small step. And if you've been making those steps, like Steve's been making those steps, and Unc Andy started to make those steps over the last month and a half, you guys start making those steps, you're going to start seeing some of these other steps start being more easily capable of you getting yourself into. And if you got a lot of value from any of the information we got today, you're ready to build your own systems, make sure that you click that subscription button if you haven't done so. Turn on those notifications. Turn on the notifications on the app so that we can let you know when we're here every night of the week. But we will be here every night of the week, and we're going to be doing deep dives, going even deeper into each of these topics. And I don't want you guys to miss any of that stuff, because your time invested in me today is going to benefit your future. And I want to make sure that you guys take every step in the right direction to make yourselves as successful as possible. Right? So that's all we got for today. Gee, we did kill 3 hours. Didn't I tell you I was going to have us a pretty lengthy night tonight? But it was a very important, very meaningful one, right? So we're going to start by saying, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you, ladies, to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. He says that membership is where it's at. Ask any questions and they will be answered quickly. Yeah, Stephen, I put it in the membership. So I have one walkthrough on how to make better decisions in conflict. That's going to be released tomorrow at noon. And then the next day, I have another one where how you rethink it in the moment when you're trying to communicate with individuals. The first one is how to write it down, start practicing this stuff at the house. And then the second one is how to take action on it in the moment when you're interacting with people. But one of the things that I could tell you, both of them are going to be similar in doing, is that in the moment that people start pissing you off, you have to stop talking, breathe, calm yourself down before you respond, because it is not about a quick response. It is about what you say when you respond. You want to make sure that you stay focused on the goal you're trying to obtain from the interaction you're having with the person. And if you're not able to obtain that goal with the person that you are interacting with, you must remember that there more than likely is another person that you can talk to that can aid you in attempting your goal. Sometimes you might not get done today what you want to get done, but other times you will be able to get it done somewhere else at a later time where you don't have to go through the person that is the obstacle. Usually in discussions, when you have more leverage than the other person, it's easy to get what you want. But when the other person has more control over the outcome of your success than you do, it is harder for you to force people to take action towards your benefit when their sole purpose in this engagement is to be difficult and prevent you from succeeding. In those dynamics, you have to find different individuals that are more willing to aid you in your ability to succeed. Take, for example, real quick, these are prescription glasses. They're on my driver's license and my passport. I got to renew my passport. If I were to go to the post office, that's where you go to get a good passport photo. That way, you know that the passport photo will fly. Ultimately, they're not going to want to take the photo because my glasses are on, right? But my glasses are in my passport photo. My glasses are on my driver's license. I would have with the initial individual a debate on why they refuse to do their job. I'm paying you to take a picture. I'm not paying you to evaluate the picture, right? So my discussion with that person is that I'm taking the glasses, I'm taking a photo with the glasses intentionally, with full understanding of the consequences of taking the photo with the glasses. Since you have done your due diligence with notifying me that this photo may not be accepted without the right paperwork, since you are not processing my application, I'm paying you for a photo, not the outcome of the application. I insist that you take the photo or redirect me to somebody who will take the photo, because I'm paying for a photo. I'm not paying for you to process my paperwork, right? Now, in that discussion, I understand that they don't want to take the photo because they don't like the fact that I'm getting a photo that they can't get. They don't have the authority over my ID being processed. They have the authority over whether or not I get the photo that I need to get the ID process. Now, if they're refusing to take the photo, ultimately, I can have a manager step in and take the photo. I can have a manager order them to take the photo, or I can go to another location and get the photo taken there if I haven't paid for the photo here, right? But ultimately, I'm going to get that photo. Now, worst case scenario in this situation, I would probably have to show them one of my government IDs and say, look, these glasses are on both of my photos. So for you to look at my ID, see these glasses on the photo, and then tell me they're not going to accept it is asinine. Because if they've already accepted it in two different locations on a federal level and state level, they're going to accept them again. Under that dynamic, now it's just a complaint of discrimination. I'm still going to get the photo. It just depends on how much hassle I'm going to get that might lead to a civil action if I'm willing to do that, because they're unwilling to take the photo out of personal bias, not because I don't have the money and not because they're going to be responsible for what I do with the picture after they take it, just because they don't want to do it. But again, when I decide to go and take these photos, I do it on a day where I have ample time, because I know I've been doing this for 20 years now. I know that I am not going to walk into a Department of Motor Vehicles or a post office box for a passport photo or driver's license and have an instant photo taken. I know that even though they see the photo with my glasses on the photo of the last ID, that the person that's supposed to be taking my photo now doesn't feel emotionally comfortable with giving me an exception. And I know that it's going to take me an extra 20 minutes to get a photo. If you were standing in line, you might get yours in 5 minutes and I might get mine in 25 minutes, because now I've got to talk to three managers for somebody to come up and take the fucking picture. The frustration is only there if you're not anticipating the delay. You know that there's going to be a delay. You anticipate the delay, which means you regulate your emotions for the delay, which means you redirect your train of thought to keep them focused on the task at hand. The task at hand is I'm paying you for a photo. You do not have the legal authority to deny me the photo. You have the legal responsibility to notify me of the consequences of the photo. And it is my responsibility to execute what I'm going to execute with the photo. Now, at the DMV, yeah, they probably can tell you no about the photo, but it's like, look, bro, you've got the 8 or 9 copies of my driver's license with the photo, because you took my ID when you asked me what I was here for. So you have my last ID. That is still valid. How are you going to tell me no if these glasses are on my last ID? You can't. You can't. I mean, you could, but you would be being completely unrealistic. And in that dynamic, it's just like, bro, I don't know. And that's the moment where I just speak up a little bit louder and like, well, I need a manager because this person's just discriminating against me because I'm wearing prescription glasses. And that conversation leads to everybody in the room feeling uncomfortable because they're like, oh shit, they're fucking with the blind guy. So I no longer have to pay attention to convincing people. Same thing with the service dog. Some people give me shit. They don't want me to walk in the building. I walk right past them. You can't come in here. Okay, call the police. Let them talk to you about me. Okay, because I've already talked to them about me. So as soon as you tell them that I'm here, that's going to be the type of conversation that's going to really make you feel embarrassed, right? Because I know the laws. I know what I can and cannot do. So I just do. I was in a Walmart one day and they're like, oh, yeah, we're not going to let you in here. I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to be by electronics. If I can't be here, they can come and drag me out from electronics. Let's see how well that works out. I guarantee you by the end of the engagement, the manager that was being difficult in that Walmart got removed from the service floor until I left the store. I was able to go walk around the store, shop, do everything I wanted to do, go to the register. That person that gave me a bad time on my way in was removed from the service floor until I left, from the entire store till I left, because I was able to maintain calm and control and be able to articulate my knowledge and my understanding of what I'm allowed to have versus what I'm intending to do, and insist that if you don't like it, Let's escalate it, but we're going to escalate it from inside the building. I'm not going to wait outside to escalate the situation. We're going to escalate it from inside the building. That way you now have to physically remove me, testing the system. But when I cover this on the show, because I'm going to be trying to put this up in the next few days, and when I cover it on the show for hopefully sometime next week, because I'm going to start making some scripts. If not next week, the week after, when I cover the show, I'm going to be talking about how you can navigate these types of conversations with individuals that are less willing to be cooperative with you. But you also have to recognize when the first person you talk to in any industry, the first person that you talk to, Stephen, is going to be the person whose goal is to finish your transaction with them. Doesn't have to be successful. It just has to be finished. They don't want it to be escalated to a supervisor. They don't want it to be elevated to a second person. They don't want to put additional people on this task. They want to be the last person you talk to with your issue. You want to go past them and talk to somebody else because they're not resolving your issue. So as soon as you recognize person number one is not here to help you, because they're not, all right, I want to talk to a manager. If the person that's being unrealistic is a manager, that's okay. I'll call corporate. I want to talk to a district manager or a regional manager. The person that's standing there doesn't own the business. They work for somebody who has more authority than them. I want to talk to the highest authority in this company. I work my way up the chain till I find the CEO. If I can find the board of directors, if I can find the founder, I will call the founder. But by the time I get to the top, I'm going to get what I want more often than not. It requires a lot more effort and it does delay your ability to achieve your goals. But when you are clear about what you're trying to accomplish and you're diligent about bypassing the obstacle person, you will find yourself more capable of accomplishing certain goals. And if you're a reoccurring person at certain entities, you will find that once you overcome that obstacle the first time, you're not going to experience it again. Each time you experience it for the first time in that business, you got to overcome that obstacle. The food isn't made right in this restaurant. You got to talk to the upper management in order to get it made correctly or get you a refund. But the next time you come back to that restaurant, they're going to make the shit right without any problems. Right. So you've got to decide for yourself, do I want to go through rectifying my situation here? Do I want to take my business elsewhere? Or if I have to do it here, do I need to do it with this person or can I do it with somebody else? I'll get back in line and I'll wait for somebody else to handle it because you're not here to help them, you know, whatever the case may be, and that's got to be one of the things that you have to change because getting mad at the first person you talk to, flipping desks and cursing everybody out, that's going to cause everybody in the room to shut down. And then people call the police because you're hostile. Now you're getting escorted out. You're getting trespassed off the premises. You're not able to accomplish your goals and you're risking getting arrested. You don't want to have that mentality. Your mentality needs to be, all right, I understand that's what you were taught, but that is not what we're doing here. And I know that's hard to do. But what I just said was, I understand what you were taught, which is the salesperson is telling me their policy, which is not practical. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is what I came for and how it is supposed to be done, which is based off of my research of your company. So when you tell me what you think we're supposed to be doing and I tell you what the terms and conditions of your company is, no, we're doing the customer is right 90% of the time. So until your supervisor tells me that I'm wrong, I want to talk to your boss. That's how that works. So ladies, fellas, I give y'all this kind of information to help y'all become higher value individuals. Y'all have to prioritize the things that are inside of your control, the things that you don't like, make changes there first, and then navigate around the rest of the life that is outside of your control, right? And when I give you this information, I'm also giving this information to help improve your personal life because your decision making skills cost you money. Because if you flip a table and wow out in a restaurant, you go to jail. That's bail money. That's court cases. That's lost time on the job. That's probation. That's unexpected occurrences. So, changing the way you make decisions changes the way society treats you, right? and how they unnecessarily charge you for stuff that you probably shouldn't have been charged with. And then, ladies, while this is a male driven podcast from a male's perspective, you too can benefit from the information that we have to give you. Prioritizing your 20 and 30-year goals, one of the best ways to do that, reverse engineering that's what you need to do today, and then sticking to that as you move towards your retirement. And if you're keeping your eyes and ears open for the potential suitor with the right personality and characteristics, drive, ambition, motivation, dedication, admiration, and integrity to achieve his goals, you want to see what kind of goals he has and see if his goals match well with your goals. Because long-term satisfaction goals will aid the both of you in succeeding in each other's goals together versus short-term gratification goals, which will drag down the person that has the long-term vision. And I tell you guys on a regular basis, and I gave you the example earlier today, as a matter of fact, that two people can make it to $1 million faster than one, and you could probably do it in 5 to 10 years if you're fiscally responsible about shit. So let's give a special shout out to Michael, Steven, FX Trader, Aztec, Unc Andy, OG Kicks. I didn't see OG Kicks jump in tonight, but he's always here on a regular basis. I really appreciate you guys for coming to this and that. I'm your host, Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. And I will see you guys tomorrow.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt upon the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher, constantly making my own climb. Standing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos.